bro, bro, that's it. 4:30 to 4:42. So.
Gifty, good afternoon. Hello, Gifty.
Sir, I think he is away from computer.
That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah, he has checked the.
Uday, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah, good evening, Amar. Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good.
So it's all today is going to be the solo show with Gifty. So
I think he's on. He's come, Amar.
no, he's online, but he's not near the computer. He's sharing the screen.
Yeah. I think he's the first person who has come on,
Correct.
and I think he shared the screen, and then I think he
Yeah, I think he's just getting the last bits ready, and
is getting organized. No?
yeah. And today, Uday, we are also live on YouTube.
Yeah. That's what I observed. You're also live on YouTube.
Yeah.
Good. Very nice.
So that today we have got an unprecedented lot of
Number of
people, and then we may get people a little later on. So we said we'll have the YouTube live connection so that it becomes much easier to handle.
Okay.
So Magna Wave has been very instrumental in getting that organized. Ganesh is very instrumental. Ganesh is there. Thank you, Ganesh.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Tell me, Uday.
Amar, I spoke to you, no, in the afternoon.
Correct.
Can we ask Dr. Emmanuel, about this? I don't know, the tests for the virus. No.
Yeah. He's going to cover all that.
About the Government of India guidelines. No.
Yeah. We'll do that. Definitely.
We can ask him about that, so
Yeah.
that we will be able to at least follow some
True.
things.
Yeah.
I saw the other one, the Gosi, this thing with John at center.
Yeah.
I think they are quite fine. They are very nice.
I'm going to reply to that in the evening later today. I mean, once you finish this meeting.
How. Good. I think we'll have to wait, no, right now for some time.
Yeah. You want to get going somewhere? We still have about 17 minutes to go for 4:30. It's 4:13.
Correct. So probably I'll just see if I'll call my registrar also.
Yeah.
I'm here in Sagar, so if he's free, I'll make him involved in seeing this. Alva.
Yeah, it makes sense. Definitely.
Yeah. So I'll just go off.
You can mute and go probably.
I'll just mute and.
Yeah, this is your computer, right? Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, thank you. Uday, you're back.
Hello.
Hi, Uday, you're back.
Yeah. I'm back. I have just given it to all my registrars. So they are seeing it in another computer. They're just opening the link in another computer, the other room.
Okay.
Other registrars, no?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've told them to see it in the other room. That's good.
Gifty, good evening.
How are you?
Fantastic. So you seem to be nice and relaxed. Good.
Yes, thank you.
Wonderful. So there is no challenge for you in terms of the
Yeah,
sharing.
I have this PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Can I share it right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I
Sir,
go to.
good afternoon. This is Kaushik.
Hello,
Kaushik,
Mr. Kaushik.
Kaushik.
Good afternoon.
Amarnath sir, good afternoon. Good
Hey,
evening.
Kaushik, good afternoon. Yeah. Looks like your video is.
Yeah, I'm putting it on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, good
Nice.
evening, Dr. Kaushik.
Today,
Kaushik,
thank you, sir. Sir, good evening. Uday sir, good evening.
Nice to see Kaushik at home. Nice to see Kaushik at home.
No, I went to office.
Okay.
And afternoon I have to rush back to home. I'll send you few clips and few information.
Sure.
In our Dholka plant, there were 21 positive cases where the drugs are manufactured.
Fantastic. Oh my God.
21 cases.
21 cases, and last 10 days back, it was 7-8 cases. And you cannot put the factory off. Actually, we can always work from home if required, but factory cannot do that. So
Correct.
immediately there was a guideline. And yesterday night, 12 o'clock, Modi has sent paramilitary forces.
My God. Oh God.
Yeah. So suddenly yesterday there was a news in Ahmedabad. I hope you don't know. Only milk is open. That's all.
Correct.
Oh,
Even vegetable, anything is not available.
why?
It's all closed. Only milk and medicine. That's it.
No, fully contained, is it?
Fully
contained.
Nothing.
Okay.
I used to go to office every day. There were 6 or 7 barricades. All the barricades I used to cross. And now they have started knowing me that this guy goes every day.
Okay.
Today it was military forces. They were not only asking I-card, they were asking the pass. They were checking lot of strictness, and they said that you have to arrange one more pass.
Are you able to see the PowerPoint?
Yeah. Not yet. You need to start sharing your screen now.
No, I can see, sir.
Hang on.
Human virology, cure research and global health.
Correct.
Dr. Emmanuel, virologist, infectious disease physician, right, sir? Blue color,
perfect.
purple color.
Precisely.
Yeah. No. My view was a different way. Yeah, it is quite good. Yeah.
Great.
These are COVID virus.
Yeah. Corona.
Corona. These ones.
Yes, sir. They look like that.
Good evening, Sri.
Good evening, Amar. How are you?
So you seem to be you seem to be sitting with Emmanuel as well as in the San Francisco Bay.
Oh.
Good evening, Dr. Emmanuel.
Hello.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon, Dr. Yefti. How are you?
Great, Dr. Srinath. Thank you. How are you?
Very inspiring talk. Last time I was really moved by your talk. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Very sweet of you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
In fact, Gifty, today, I mean, Shrikant, we have the live on YouTube today.
Okay.
So it's going to be very, very interesting because there are
wo leave
there is going to be a huge amount of influx. So we wanted to regulate that and make sure that there is no jamming happening.
Right. Okay.
So people have been divided to go either to YouTube or come here, whichever they have.
That's
Will
good.
people be able to ask you questions through YouTube, Amar, or that's not possible?
YouTube, you'll be able to see. YouTube is just to stream. That's it.
Right.
Do you think
So,
clarity will be better in YouTube?
see, clarity and here is almost similar, Uday.
Okay.
But the only thing is, there is no interaction happening because YouTube is a streaming device. That's it, nothing else.
Okay.
And even though Zoom is on the similar platform, but we have the software to ask questions and do a lot of other things, which is not there in YouTube. So it's okay. It's okay. I mean, see, we have the general public, we have non-medical personnel, we have general physicians, non-orthopedic surgeons, varied specialties have been linked into this program for today. So we made sure that everybody has that little extra so that they can, share that.
Great.
I think the last lecture by Dr. Emmanuel was very good.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Excellent it was.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Uday.
Yeah, excellent. And,
Oh, thank you very much. Thanks for the feedback. It's very important to us.
it's very, very crisp, very clear. And of course, now we are trying to impress upon different administrators of different hospitals,
Oh, great.
educate them that you
Correct.
have this is the situation. Many of them are not very, even though administrators and doctors, they are not so much aware of the situation.
Correct. Correct. We have been very largely in the bacteriological era, sir.
Correct.
Virology was always a very neglected field.
Exactly.
Now it is gaining momentum, even curriculum-wise.
Yes.
So now we realize we are dealing with this organism which is so close to us right from the beginning of life itself.
Yes, very true.
And we are kind of coming to terms with it.
Yes. I don't know. We'll be having some. I have told Amar to ask you some questions after your talk.
Sure. Please. The more the questions, the better.
I think Amar will prepare it about what the government of India, what rules and regulations they have about this
Testing.
How do you feel, sir, the Indian response and the numbers? What is your feeling about it, sir, Dr. Gifty, so far?
I think India was one of the earliest to respond. And we have done a great job considering our quantum of population. We cannot do better than this. But the danger is not with our response, it's with the nature of the virus.
Yes.
Yeah, because the virus is going to be here for a long time. It's going to ping pong and stay around for a long time. Yes. And at the end of the day, even when we discover an antivirus or a vaccine, it'll come back strong. And we still haven't thought much about reinfections. A person who recovers from this can get reinfected.
Yes.
And we haven't thought about
10% now, the infection rate.
Yeah, right now the infection rate compared to many countries is much lesser. Fatalities also have been much lesser. But on the whole, if this infection infinitely progresses, what will happen is nearly 2/3 of the nation will get infected. Hello, Dr. John.
Hello.
John, good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening,
Nice
John,
to
sir, good evening.
Good evening, Kaushik. Nice
Good evening,
to see your nice write-up about kidney.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice write-up, and
Thank you so much.
I'm happy that his expertise is being utilized.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, great. We'll start at 4:35, I guess.
Yes, sir. We'll start after 10 minutes.
5 minutes grace. 5 minutes grace before we start. Okay. So,
John, today we are also we are live on YouTube.
Okay.
So
okay.
To decongest our space, So
Ah.
both the links have been shared with people, and then they are also looking into that. So it will be great.
Okay. Now I will introduce Gifty, and then you can start off.
Yeah. He will. In fact, like the same usual we go with Kaushik bringing me in.
Yeah.
I will
Okay.
bring you, and then you introduce Gifty. Then
Okay.
Gifty will take on, and then now Gifty is sharing the slides. Do you want to share your slides, or you want to just talk?
No,
No,
better.
the slides are on already. So as I talk, I keep changing the slide. That is okay.
No. That's fine. No. What I was telling John Gifty was, John has a presentation for introducing you. So
okay.
I was asking him, do you want to do that slide for Gifty, John?
Yes.
Okay.
Because this time we'll have a new audience. This time we'll have a different audience, no?
Yeah. So what I'll do,
audience, we have a new audience.
Gifty, I will stop sharing the screen now.
We will have most of the physicians today.
Okay, that is why we'll have to introduce him again.
Yes, sir. Full introduction.
Okay. So let us start at 4:35.
4:35. We will start at 4:35.
Yes. Okay. So he is the solo speaker today, so I've got enough time. Enough time for discussion and presentation. Also, he can take his time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So Amar, you give me some 2 minutes time. I got some work. I'll join you at 4:35.
Okay. In that case, we'll mute you, and then we will stop your video. So we will come back. John is going to come back anyway. So now the focus, obviously, Uday, we are talking about the kind of things coming in. So Gifty is going to cover all those points, and then we will definitely have a great interaction. And we should thank Gifty for giving us all the details for the mask. A lot of doctors in the country have picked up the respirator with the cartridges.
Oh, really? That's fantastic.
It's been a very big success. Delhi, Gujarat, that's Ahmedabad, obviously, and then Baroda, then Mumbai, Bangalore, couple of them. In fact, Shrikant also has picked up one in Bangalore, and in Chennai. So the people have been contacting, and then suddenly 3M was very surprised why this flux of inquiries coming in.
Thanks to Dr. Gifty.
Yeah, they should make me their brand ambassador.
You can be the brand ambassador, but I think I need to have the share on that.
Sure.
Absolute fun.
Yes.
Okay. So I think it's going to be not easy. We have to start to learn to live with it, and day by day, we learn new tricks, and we bounce. If he bounces, we bounce better than Corona. So we need to make that option now. That's the only way we forward.
Dr. Bharat Dave in Ahmedabad, he bought one.
Correct. No, he's bought two for his hospital.
Excellent.
Kaushik, what's the issue with Ahmedabad? Why things are so bad there? I really don't understand.
Sir, Ahmedabad, things were controlled in the beginning. Later on, the shops were open. It's a business community. Shops were open till 11, then till 12, then till 2, then till evening 5 o'clock. Like that, shops kept on opening up. What I had seen that the social distancing was maintained and rush was not there. And this is a dry state. Even when they opened up liquor, there was no fun of people going in liquor shop because you don't have liquor shop in Gujarat.
Yeah.
Sir, but what I presume, this is a BJP run state. And when it is seen that non-BJP run state are having less cases and a BJP run state is having more cases, I think that is the trigger. This is my very personal opinion, because Ahmedabad, right from the beginning, we were all wondering why Ahmedabad name is not featuring. In the beginning, you remember the Ahmedabad name was not featuring. It was not there at all. And you have the highest number of NRIs in Ahmedabad. You have the highest number of NRI inflow from UK and US and Canada to Ahmedabad.
Yeah.
But still it was not featuring. Now, once it started featuring, maybe suddenly the boom has happened, and all of them who are NRIs, because every alternate house in Ahmedabad is NRI, and means
Hey, Kerala.
Yeah,
sir,
yeah. True,
sir,
true, true.
Kerala is like Middle East, but Ahmedabad is full of US, UK. Ahmedabadi don't feel himself successful in life if he is not settled in US. If anybody in his family is not settled in US, it is something like that for Ahmedabad. So maybe that may be one of the reason that this BJP, because it is BJP managed state and not doing well and number 2 in the country, they have sent paramilitary forces yesterday night. And today it is only milk and medicine, nothing else. Even if you want potato, onion, you will not get it in anywhere in the Ahmedabad. So all shops are closed, everything. So that may be.
Whole city is containment zone, or is it just a few areas which are hotspots and
No,
containment?
whole city is not containment zone, sir. Whole city is not containment zone, but we have a very strict curfew today onwards, from today to till 15th, I think, that we cannot only we can I can travel like with essential services, but the travel was very smooth for me. But now it is very strict. The military forces are there on the roads, on the checkpost. There are 6 barricades I cross while going to office. So all the 6 barricades, we have civil dress military forces, and now
Then
they are.
Kaushik, how do you
Yes.
get your groceries then?
Sir, groceries, yeah.
It's all home delivered.
No. Everything stopped, sir. Everything.
Oh dear.
You will not get it, because in between, Dr. Bharat Dave is there. Dr. Bharat Dave, Bharat sir. Hello, I think we can get more.
More information from Bharat. Yeah, correct.
Because in between there were cases from vegetable vendors. The cases erupted. Some 17, 20 or 40 cases erupted from vegetable vendors.
Okay.
Means these vegetable guys, they go somewhere in the morning, 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, from to pick up the vegetables. Maybe that is the hub of from where the vegetable come.
Okay.
And then it is distributed to the small guys. So that place, when they go at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, that used to be like a mela in the morning.
Oh.
So people are assuming that things had means boomed up from there, and that is one of the reason which might be one of the triggers to this.
How is the Sepsivac trial going on? How is it so far?
Sepsivac could be launched, sir. Sepsivac could be launched. Sir, we used to have one brand called which used to increase the immunity, ImmuVac. So with making it trivalent, that way we had done some changes there. And Sepsivac, because of immunity factors, it will go on. And now CDRI and all, they are giving a trial. Maybe after 60 days, we'll get the report.
Dr. Jha, good evening.
Good evening.
Hello, namaste, Dr. Jha.
Namaste.
I'm waiting Dr. Jha's ethyl alcohol, ether study.
Ether would be a good idea, Kaushik, because
let us see how it coins out finally. It is very difficult for a new concept to be absorbed by this system. And then it has to go into the experimentation again. There has to be little more research. But the basic fabric that ether is lipid soluble, that much is confirmed.
Absolutely. Bharat, are you online? Can you hear us?
Yeah, Dr. Bharat Dave is there.
Bharat, can you hear us?
We have to unmute him, sir. You
No, it's not coming here. Actually, I don't have the option for.
Actually, he has some connection issue. It is.
That's the challenge that I'm facing here. I was trying to contact Bharat. Can you hear us?
Yeah. Can you give a call to him, sir? Personal call.
I can. Just a second.
I don't see him in the list also.
No, it is there. Galaxy S10.
He's Galaxy A8.
Okay, okay.
A8 or S10, or something. I think you're right.
S10.
It's S10 Galaxy. He's had to rename it, but anyway.
Vikrant,
Yes, sir. Tell me, sir.
I just went through the corrections, what you have done.
Okay, sir.
Thank you very much. I will incorporate that.
Okay, so, sir. Thank you.
John, you will get the details in the night. I think Srikant's work, we were able to convert it because it was in pages.
I was wondering why Amarnath has not sent anything. I
No.
wanted to review your name now, but you have now said you are going to send. Okay.
Because coordinating everyone, my God, so many. Go on.
I want to speak to Dr. Jha. Where is Dr. Jha?
Oh, yes, Dr. John.
Dr. Jha, good evening.
Good evening, very good evening. Am I audible to you?
So yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
we are
Yes,
audible.
sir.
Dr. Jha, you please check your mail. I have mailed you the guidelines.
I have seen it this morning. I have
Okay.
not gone through the details,
Okay.
and I will do it after the meeting.
Okay. Okay. We are waiting. I'm waiting for your inputs.
Sure.
Okay. Done. Right. And Gifty also, I think, will send his,
Yeah.
observations.
Yes.
soon. Right.
Definitely.
Right. Amar, shall we start?
Yes,
Or
John,
Sir,
I
it
think you
is
should start.
83. In maybe another 2-3 minutes, we may cross 100.
Yeah.
So,
So you want to wait for 2-3 minutes?
better, sir. Let us
okay.
cross 100.
Okay. And
Because it's a very.
Amit is going to join?
No. He may not join.
Okay. Great.
So Kaushik can pick up the slides and keep it ready, Kaushik. And I think in a couple of minutes we can go online.
Yeah. Ganesh.
Share Manda.
Ganesh, can you get Kaushik to be projected there? Thank you. John, just a minute. We will get Kaushik to do that. I'll stop sharing your slide. Yeah, we will get Kaushik to finish it first.
Yeah.
And then you'll come on. Yeah.
Okay.
And we've had a positive response for next Saturday. There are a good number of foreign faculties have accepted.
Yeah.
Dr. Anand Nanu, Kaushik.
Yes,
Dr.
sir.
Anand Nanu is accepted. And he is the British Orthopedic Association president, former.
That's
He's a
fantastic.
big guy. He's a big guy. We need this. We are trying to organize few more people so that we'll have a good international.
We have Dr. Dega from London, and we have Mez and probably Everett coming from Bristol, and we have Dr. Ajibola who's accepted from. Go on, John.
Would be the biggest from US.
John, your video is okay, but audio is absolutely inaudible. What did you say?
Now, can you hear me?
I can hear you
now it is
Yes,
better.
yes.
Now it is better, sir.
I think you
You can hear you, John.
No, John, you can do one thing. You can exit from full screen or stop the video. Exit from, okay, that's fine. Exit from video or that's great. That's great.
Now can you hear me?
We can.
Yeah, John.
Better, sir.
Better.
Can you hear me?
No, there is some disturbance. Are you open with your mobile as well as laptop, sir? Both together? John, sir.
Okay. Now what will? I don't know. The internet is unstable, I guess.
No, do you have both two devices at home which is on, or is it only one?
No, only one.
Only one.
Now can you hear me?
We can hear you. You tell me something. Tell me.
No, see, now we'll have people across the continents. We'll have one from America,
Yep.
one from Egypt, one from Africa, and one from UK, and one from India.
India, Dr. Rajesh Malhotra has accepted.
Okay. So let us not have two UK speakers. One from US, one from Africa, one from Egypt, and one from UK, and one from India.
Okay, so all the 5 continents have been covered. Okay,
Yes.
okay, sir.
That's the plan.
That's the plan. Okay. Yeah. Then we will circulate among everybody. We'll circulate among all the associations in the country so that.
Right. Okay. Now
it's almost 100. Ganesh, you can put the slide. Ganesh, you can put the slides because it is almost 97. So let us go ahead with that. 98. So I wanted, because Dr. Emmanuel's talk is so benefiting to everybody. Without hitting the now 101, without hitting the century, we should not start.
Okay.
We've done that.
Yeah,
Okay.
Ganesh, you can put the slides of Cadila.
Looks like Ganesh is on a tea break.
No, Ganesh got stuck somewhere. Let me call him.
Anyway, while Kaushik is getting his wires on, I think we are going to be having a good evening today. Definitely, I think it's going to be a very elaborate question answer session. I think you're going to be hit with tsunami of questions, Gifty. Be prepared for it.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, Kaushik gone.
No, it is something really a very benefiting. That is why, Dr. Emmanuel, this is the first time we are having a
Solo,
speaker.
solo run.
Yeah, speak.
It's
Solo,
an
sir.
honor,
First
Mr.
of all,
Kaushik. Honor.
first of all, this is really a pleasure to have you solo, because we never wanted your talk to be divided. None of us
Undivided
wanted
attention.
undivided attention, what we call. In fact, your last session was so good that we got a very high feedback.
Okay.
So we thought, why not to again get you, and thanks to Dr. John for helping us in finding you out and
Thank
bringing
you.
you on this session.
Sure.
Sir, welcome from Cadila Pharmaceutical. We operate from 1 minute, sir. We operate from BART corporate campus. Magna Wave and GOI joins hand, and this is our corporate campus, a very eco-friendly campus with lush green. Sometime do plan to come here and spend some time. It's out of the city, free of everything. So we request, 1 second.
You okay, Kaushik? Kaushik is disconnected, is he?
Hello?
I think, John, I think,
Go ahead.
John, just a second. Okay, what I'll do, I'm going to bring on, this is, friends, there are a lot of doctors and non-doctors, family physicians, different specialties have logged in. This is our, almost, we've done about 2021 program, and this is 18th in this particular platform that we're doing it. And it is pleasure to invite each one of your delegates who have logged in today. And as a principle, I would advise each of you to probably mute yourself if it's not muted already, and to try and bring down the bandwidth issues for yourself. I would advise you to probably stop sharing your video. So that way the bandwidth for yourself will be much easier. Nowadays, everybody is using Wi-Fi or even 3G and 4G network. There are bandwidth issues, hence I'm advising you. We have a very good bandwidth, and then there's no issue from our end. And today's program, as you all been told, it's been with a very accomplished virologist, and he is going to be giving us all the know-hows and to giving right from the simple. He's going to make it very simple for each one of us to understand. For being it a non-medical or a medical guy or surgeons or non-surgeons, doesn't matter. For all people who are logged in, it gives you a very good, clear, clarity, bird's eye picture of what's happening and what can be done in the future. Now, to chair this session, we have a very accomplished orthopedic surgeon in our country, John Ebenezer. To tell you frankly, many of you may not know him. People who don't know him, I'm going to introduce him. He is a co-director with me, and John and I started the Geriatric Orthopedic Association of India about 7 years ago. And then we have been doing a lot of educational activities for general public, CME, which is called as community medical education. And for doctors, it's going to be continuous medical education. And two, with this in mind, who is John Ebenezer? Dr. John Ebenezer is an orthopedic surgeon, well accomplished. You won't believe it. If I were to say a Guinness Book of World Record holder, would you be happy? I'm sure you'll be happy. But in case if you say he's got 2, would you be still happy? In fact, he's on his way to get his double-digit Guinness Book of World Record holder. He's going to have a Guinness Book of World Records on Guinness Book of World Records. John, don't you think so? We are going to see that achieved now in the next few months, probably. And people, he's one of the doctors who has achieved one thing which people are yet to do that probably, which is very good. And I'm proud to say that he got his, one of the highest civilian awards in India, Padma Shri, in the month of January a few years ago. And at the same time, by the end of the year, he was also awarded B.C. Roy Award. What is B.C. Roy? B.C. Roy was one of the doctors in Kolkata, in West Bengal. He did a lot of humane work, and people who are doing a lot of free, what shall I say, public service without anything coming to their point in that true sense of term, selfless service. For that, he was being recognized. So with that in mind, he is going to chair the session. I'll be moderating. John, you can introduce the speaker. Can you put on the slides and we'll move on. It's coming to be 16:48 now. Yeah, you can put on the play and
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amar, for those nice words. But today's hero is Gifty, not me. So the focus is to be on Gifty today, and I'm delighted, to introduce Dr. Gifty Emmanuel, who is the director of Church of South India Hospital, Bangalore, where we both interact. I'm the board member of that hospital, and he's the superintendent and the director of the hospital. So we interact with each other frequently, and we share a lot of ideas, and we share a lot of inputs to improve the hospital and other things. So it is a privilege to introduce him to you all. You should know who is Dr. Gifty Emmanuel. He's a scientist in the Department of Infectious Diseases at CSI Hospital, Bangalore. He is a physician in the field of human virology and global health. He has more than 30 years of clinical and research experience. He is the right guy to speak about this COVID pandemic because he is a virologist of repute. He is currently the director, as I told you, of Church of South India Hospital and Center for AIDS and Antiviral Research at Tuticorin. He holds a PhD virology from the MS University, India, and MD physician degree from Our Lady of Fatima University, Philippines. He has a certificate in global infectious diseases from Harvard University, MPH and TM Masters and Dr. PH Doctor of Public Health from James Cook University, Australia in Biodefense Against Bioterror Pathogens, Diploma in Vaccinology from Pasteur. So many mind-boggling degrees he has got as far as virology is concerned. And what strikes me most is his bioterror, biodefense experience, what he has. So he's the right guy to tell us whether China has indeed indulged itself in this bioterror and spelled doom to the entire world. I think he's the right guy to tell us, was it just an accident from the wet market of China, or it is a laboratory generated a missile which has been used, a biological missile which has been used against human mankind. He is in Paris. He is institute and PG diploma in zoonotic diseases, Pasteur Institute. He is from Pasteur Institute, Paris, and a PG diploma in zoonotic diseases from Veterinary University of Tanwas, India. He has undergone infectious diseases training at Oxford University. I think he should be able to tell us about this Oxford vaccine too, what is coming up, since he comes from that background. And also trained in BSL-4 High Containment Laboratory at Emory University, CDC, Atlanta. Now you can, just looking at his CV, you can say that he's the master in virology. He has got degrees across continents, and he has such a vast experience in this field. There can never be a better person in this country than Gifty Manuel to tell us about this pandemic which has really devastated us. He is my very good friend, close friend, and is my colleague. And as I told you, in the board member of his hospital, wherein he's doing an excellent job as one of the oldest hospital in the country, which started in 1893, I guess, more than 100 years old. It was in this hospital where the first open heart surgery was done by our renowned surgeon, George Bernard, I think. I am not getting the name correctly. Anyway, so he was the surgeon who did that too on Devaraj Aras, Chief Minister of Karnataka. So he is heading that hospital, and I'm sure that he will bring back the glory in that hospital. So over to you, Gifty. We thank you for your participation, and I'm sure that we all will be richer by knowledge today, and we'll be delighted to listen to you. Over to you, Gifty. Thank you.
Dr. John, I just got disconnected. So really it was a full-fledged introduction. And most important part today was the some anti-terror virus. So that will be a great knowledge to everybody. So
Yes,
thank you so much for giving Dr. Gifty to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
While Gifty is getting his slides up, people, we have a chat section in the Zoom. People can ask any questions. I'll be taking up the questions later on once the presentation is over. Gifty, you can share the slides now.
Yeah, Dr. Amar, it's already on. Can you confirm that? I can see it on my screen.
Yeah.
Is everyone able to see the slides?
Slides are not visible. Slides are not visible.
No, slides are not visible yet.
It is only you. Sir, you do one thing. You go to share screen. Share the slide, and then you say share. Then only it will get shared.
No, he was already on it initially, Kaushik. So I can try that, Gifty, again.
1 second. Yeah.
Okay.
Can you see the slides, please?
We can, and then you can put on the slideshow. Great. You're on, Gifty. Go on.
Fine. So can I start?
Yes. Please go ahead, Gifty.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Good evening, folks. Good evening, everyone who's logged in today. A big thank you to the Geriatric Orthopedic Association having me the second time. Mr. Kaushik, the head of Division of Pharma in Cadila, one of the renowned pharmaceutical companies in India. My good patron and friend, Dr. John Ebenezer, and my close associate, Dr. Amarnath, all the senior practitioners, the newcomers to this program, and a very warm welcome from my side. So today we're going on a journey which is very important, which is very crucial for the current pandemic. And we hope to understand and unravel the mysteries of one unique organism of this world called virus. Viruses are forever, people. They're not going to go away. This is one organism which was there in the beginning of life. It was there before man descended as a human being. This organism could have been the key to life itself when amino acids were mixing in early Earth, and the first form organism was simply replicating molecules. And viruses can be defined as simply as replicating molecules. Their only aim in life is replication. So as they replicate, they damage the host, they cause disease, they cause destruction. So viruses don't have forethought. They can even destroy an organism or a host in which it is living. Like us, who have a higher center for thinking, viruses don't have any of these higher centers. So today, I'll be talking this whole thing in 3 parts. The first will be human virology. What is virology? What does it deal with? And how do we have to understand that to unravel the mysteries of disease and transmission dynamics? The second part will be on cure research. What is really happening in this world? What are the tools? What are the arsenal we have against viral diseases? How far have you fared well with this? And the third one is the global health implications. I'll also be touching upon the orthopedic link how orthopedics is highly prone for any viral infections, and currently coronavirus in particular. So as I go along, I'll be talking on each slides, and you can have interactive questions at the end. I'm very happy to answer all your questions. And in the meantime, you have any doubts, you can raise your hands or send me a message, and I'll try to incorporate as much as possible. So once again, good evening. And human virology deals with a lot of viruses. Some are known to us, like smallpox, chickenpox, and herpes, and Epstein-Barr virus, cytomegalovirus. But some are emerging. The definition for emerging was set upon by a Nobel laureate called as, he was a Nobel laureate in America, is a great bacteriologist, Joshua Lederberg. He said diseases will emerge and re-emerge. So when you say emerging viruses, usually it means viruses which are coming new, which are novel, and some of them are re-emerging, like hepatitis B and C, things like that. So virus hunting has been a great way of finding new viruses. We are basically hunter-gatherers. Humans are hunters, and hunting is innate to us, and we have been hunting viruses for centuries. It started with yellow fever, and currently up to coronavirus. We have been doing something called as virus hunting. So viruses can emerge from their habitats, and these habitats are very unique. They can live in forests. They can live in the darkest places of this earth. They can live beneath foliages. They can live in deep woods. Viruses have their own ecology, their own niche, and their own habitat. So for a virus to emerge into human population, it takes a lot of understanding. As doctors, we usually deal with the disease from the door. As the person sits in, comes in with febrile illness, body pain, and things like that. But if you have to understand viruses, I think we need to take a larger picture, a global view, and we also have to take life sciences and nature into consideration so that we understand what these organisms are, how do they behave, what do they really do, and how do you contain them, how do you control them, how do you eliminate them, and how do you eradicate them. So that's how it is. Now, to begin with, let me speak about viral hemorrhagic fevers. Viral hemorrhagic fevers are a group of viral infections which are seen all around the world. And I would like to classify it as African variety and the Asian variety. I'll deal with the African variety first. Ebola virus and Marburg. These two are the leading viruses with the highest fatality rate. Ebola has a fatality rate about 90%. Anyone who contracts Ebola has a 90% chance of dying. So is Marburg. Ebola is named after a river in Africa. They didn't want to name the place, so they named the river, found in 1970s. Ebola is one of the most dangerous pathogens we ever encountered in this globe. It is one of the top 12 viruses which can eradicate human race. Comparatively, coronaviruses and SARS-CoV-2 in particular, it's only 3%, has a fatality of around only 3%, while Ebola has a fatality around 90%. That's a massive difference. Marburg is very similar to Ebola. These viruses belong to a family of viruses called as Filoviridae. This is the most dangerous family among viruses. The next virus is hantavirus. Hantavirus is an Asian hemorrhagic fever. It's not seen much in Africa. It's Asian in origin, in particular Korea. So the World War II, they were able to find this virus. Again, it is named after a river in Korea called Hantan River. So hantavirus can also cause viral hemorrhagic fevers with bleeding, epistaxis, disseminated intravascular coagulation, and a lot of coagulopathy-related complications. And the next virus in this family is called as Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever. Now, this is an African hemorrhagic fever belonging to the family of Bunyaviridae, but this is very important from the Indian context because a couple of years back, we had it in Ahmedabad. The cattle in Ahmedabad were infected with this, and it's a tick-borne virus. The tick can carry it to the humans. They identified it quite early, and the cattle were disinfected. We didn't have much of cases. So Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever was with us. It was present in Gujarat 2 to 3 years back. So this belongs to the family of Bunyaviridae. Then we have another interesting virus called Lassa fever. Lassa fever is only in Africa. It is caused by rats. If you get exposed to the excreta of rats, you can contract this fever. Junin and Machupa are South American, hemorrhagic fevers belonging to the family of Arinaviridae. Now, Flaviviridae is the most popular group, which has dengue fever. Dengue fever, I'm sure all of you know. There is a classical and a hemorrhagic variant, and this is a serious disease as far as tropical India is concerned. A lot of fatalities, a lot of hospitalization, disability, destruction, and death. Dengue again has a very less, what you call as fatality rate, but still management has been very difficult in India in the past few years. And then it is the yellow fever. Yellow fever is the original hemorrhagic fever. Every disease in the hemorrhagic variety is based on yellow fever. And this family is called as Flaviviridae. Flavi means yellow in Latin. So Flaviviridae includes dengue fever, yellow fever, and KFD. It's KFD, not KFC. KFD is Kaisnur forest disease, belongs to my state of Karnataka here. On the way to Mysore, there's a thick, dense forest called Kaisnur forest. And this particular virus ecosystem is there. It's again a tick-borne disease, and it's quite serious. And there are a lot of fatalities reported among people who venture into the forest as a part of eco trips and things like that. And even foresters can be affected. So this is Kaisnur forest disease, people. The monkeys are reservoirs, primates are reservoirs in this particular viral infection. And there are seasonal variations with this virus. It is transmitted by a small tick. And this tick, if you go into the forest area and have bites and things like that, this virus can transmit. It's a real serious virus because it can cause fatality if it's not treated early. Although it hasn't spread very much in Karnataka, it has the potential to become a pandemic. But the only advantage is we are able to control the tick, so it stops the disease progression. It's a vector-borne disease. As long as you're able to control the tick, the disease doesn't progress. But as far as SARS-CoV-2 is concerned, it is an airborne virus and also a fomite-borne virus and also a fecal-borne virus. Many of my colleagues don't even consider SARS-CoV-2 as a fecal-borne virus. So it can come through the fecal route. It has happened in Taiwan and other countries. It can be transmitted through fomites. Fomites are things which we use, and it is also droplet-borne. And the airborne route is still being studied. There are some doubts that it could be airborne, but as on date, it is considered droplet-borne. So SARS-CoV-2, the cause of COVID-19, has three classical pathways. It's not just the droplet infection. The number 2 is fomite-borne, and number 3, it can also be transmitted by aerosolization of fecal matter through the plumbing and sewage lines. So Kaisnur forest disease is a tick-borne hemorrhagic fever of importance in India. We can call it as Indian hemorrhagic fever or Indian equivalent of Ebola virus. Now, this is Crimean Congo, which I spoke to you about. Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever was seen in Ahmedabad. As you can see there is a back of a person who's got ecchymosis all over. It causes intravascular coagulation. It can cause subconjunctival bleeding. It can cause bleeding into the lung. It can cause a lot of complications, secondary bacteremia and death. This, again, is an African hemorrhagic fever which emerged in India recently, and we haven't been able to track it further. So this is of concern to the Indian population. Now, the next disease is pandemic influenzas. Influenza is an Italian word which means influence of the stars. There was a time when people believed that viruses influenced human health because of stars, and they didn't know it was a microorganism. So they connected it with the stars. So that's how influence of the stars is called as influenza. As you can see in a Chinese wet market, ducks, chicken, and other birds of the air are kept in the same compartment or in adjacent compartments. So what really happens is a virus which belongs to a duck can admix itself, it can reassort itself, it can recombine itself with another virus from another organism or another bird or another poultry. This is how the pandemic influenzas evolve. This is how the virus evolution happens, because of close proximity, spatial proximity of these birds can intermingle viruses between them. Then new strains of viruses come out, H1N1, H5N2, and all these combinations happen because these things are kept in the wet market very close to each other. So this is a very important origin, the point of origin, which can be blocked, in fact, and we can prevent pandemic influenzas. However, we have a very effective 4-strain or quadrivalent vaccine against this particular pandemic influenza. And we also have a drug called as Tamiflu or oseltamivir, and Permavir is also there, which is an injectable formulation. Both these things, we are able to contain this disease. But again, everybody is not vaccinated. It is an annual vaccine. It's economically not feasible for 30 to 40% of people in this country. You might forget it and things like that. So this is again a pandemic of global importance. And this is very, very important as well as people who are aged are concerned. 65 years and above, this can cause epidemic very similar to what we call as swine flu and other things. So I think we just lost power, people. Can you hear me?
Gifty, we can hear you. Yes, we can't see you. We can't see you,
yeah,
but
fine,
we can.
Fine. The visual is not there. That's okay. So I'll continue talking. So the next set of thing is the Spanish flu of 1918. People, this is one of the greatest pandemics which ever happened. We can say there were a lot of relics of the current pandemic in the old pandemic. This was the first mega pandemic which happened in 1918. And the organism which was involved is called as H1N1, and which is again a pandemic influenza. 500 million people were infected and 100 million died. 100 million people died. So the problem here is this can be taken as a template for the current coronavirus epidemic we are having. This is a real serious trouble, because what I see from this pandemic is we haven't developed much from those times. They also wore masks. They did social distancing. They tried all experimental vaccines and drugs of those times, including aspirin was tried. They tried all herbal remedies. They also had a large fatality. 100 years later, we are in the same path. 2018 is 100 years. 100 years later, we are in the same path. We are in the same formulation. We don't have a new approach, or we don't have a new drug. So still diseases have an upper hand, and they are able to dominate over us through very uncanny mechanisms and way of action. And we have not focused enough on disease control. Instead, we have focused on colonizing the Mars, our trips to the moon, focusing on things like nanotechnology, graphene for electro boards, advancement in touch screens, but basic human health and our very own existence, we haven't given any kind of importance. That is really sad, people. So I think that view has to change with this pandemic. We need to prioritize human health above all defense budgets, about all extravagant things which we get involved in. Human health has to be the primary and the most important thing, without any second thoughts. Now, these are two viruses which I would like to speak upon. These are also emerging. One is called West Nile virus. West Nile virus is a flavivirus, and it is seen in Northern America, more in Northern America. It's a mosquito-borne viral fever, and West Nile can be very bad. It leads to encephalitis and death. And one of the sentinels which you can see is, you can see a lot of crow deaths. When you see crow deaths, you can understand it is due to West Nile. We don't have any drug for this particular disease, and it is quite prevalent in the Western Hemisphere. And the next one is another virus called as Powassan. It is related to the Russian spring encephalitis group of viruses. This again is a tick-borne virus, causes what we call as encephalitis because of its neuroinvasion. Currently, there is no drug. Currently, there is no effective vaccine. And this is a seriously dangerous virus. The last time I was at Boston, they reported a lot of fatalities in people who get infected, especially the elderly and in children. And the answer is we still don't have a vaccine or an effective drug. That is as far as Powassan is concerned. Now, we are coming to our major player now, the human coronaviruses. There are a lot of confusion in the terminology of coronaviruses. People are confusing with the existing coronavirus, which causes common cold. And there are a lot of misunderstanding about coronaviruses. Basically, coronaviruses are respiratory viruses. The 4 coronaviruses which cause common cold are human coronaviruses, and the 3 coronaviruses which are able to cause pandemics and outbreaks and epidemics are non-human zoonotic coronaviruses. So the SARS-CoV-1, which came out in 2003 in Far East, the MERS-CoV, which came in 2012, which is Middle Eastern SARS coronavirus, and the SARS-CoV-2, which is the key cause for the current pandemic. These are all animal coronaviruses, not to be confused with the common cold coronavirus, which are the normal human coronaviruses. So pathogenic coronaviruses are 7 in number. Out of the 7, 4 are considered common cold viruses, and these 3, SARS-CoV-1, SARS-CoV-2, MERS-CoV, these are the 3 viruses which are considered pathogenic, lethal, and evolving. SARS-CoV-1 and SARS-CoV-2 can be considered as Far Eastern coronaviruses because they broke out in mainland China, in Singapore, in Taiwan, in Hong Kong, and things like that. And MERS, or MERS coronavirus, can be considered as Middle Eastern coronavirus. It is seen in dormitory camels, which get infected from the bat. And here again, the intermediate host for SARS-CoV-2 is questionable, but we believe it is the pangolin, which was infected by the SARS-CoV-2 virus, which is a chimeric virus in the sense the bat virus, which is called as RTA-G3, infected the pangolin, and a pangolin coronavirus admixed and formed the current SARS-CoV-2 coronavirus, which is a very, very, very dangerous recombination. They have acquired qualities which was not there in the bat virus and also not there in the pangolin's virus. This is a recombinant virus. It can be called as a chimera. Chimera in Greek means mixture of multiple things. So this is a chimeric virus. Chimeric only means it's a recombined virus. So this is very important we understand the origin of SARS-CoV-2. And even the SARS-CoV-1, which came out in 2003, can be considered as a chimeric virus of bat and civet cats. Civet cats and palm cats were eaten as delicacies in Chinese markets. It's very likely these viruses would have recombined and evolved into the SARS coronavirus part 1, which we saw in 2003. Now, some viruses are considered re-emerging viruses. For example, rabies. Rabies and India, we have a lot of common things in the sense rabies is a huge, huge problem to India. It causes a large burden of disease. And rabies in India by the street dogs is a big problem. And it is re-emerging at a large rate unless we do canine vaccination and very strong immunization schedules, even as a part of childhood extended immunization. Rabies can be a very dangerous thing. And there are few more viruses in the HIV-like viruses, which are called as other retroviruses, which is HTLV-1 and HTLV-2. Along with HIV, these 3 things form the retroviral repertoire in HIV. So retrovirus have this habit of recombining among themselves, and HTLV-1 and HTLV-2 are nowadays being reported in India, especially in transfusion patients and things like that. HTLV-1 and 2 can cause T-cell leukemia, which is a rare form of T-cell cancer. And this is being nowadays recognized in India. So these are the retroviruses which are re-emerging. Now, human virology has found a great amount of success. Initially, viruses were discovered by a Russian botanist called Ivanovsky. In 1893, I remember this year because my hospital started in this year. And this particular plant virus was the first virus to be discovered. It's called as tobacco mosaic virus. And that is a non-human virus. After that, the first human virus which had an effective vaccine was yellow fever and smallpox. Both these viruses were contained because of vaccination. Smallpox was eradicated because of only one simple reason. It didn't have an animal host or reservoir. because they didn't have any non-human reservoir. It was possible to ring vaccinate every last case of smallpox and eradicate this disease completely. However, 2 vials of smallpox are stored in vector in Soviet Russia and in CDC in America. These are stored for vaccine studies, but a rogue scientist can always take it out. So still, we have not completely eradicate this virus. This virus is still living in the refrigerators in Vector, which is a state institute of biotechnology and virology in Serbia and Russia, Siberia and Russia, and in Atlanta, Georgia, we have 2 vials of smallpox virus still there. And as you can see that yellow fever is a vaccine preventable disease. It's got a sylviatic cycle where it can live in forest monkeys and jump to human population. And it is again a mosquito-borne illness. If you're traveling to South America in particular, you need a yellow fever vaccine, which is a 17D vaccine, quite safe and gives you a protection for nearly 10 plus years. Now, to study this viruses, it is not easy. We need specialized laboratories. India was much ahead of this. We have 3 laboratories for the uninitiated. One is at the Microbial Containment Complex in Pune, which belongs to the National Institute of Virology, which is a BSL-4 facility where you can study these viruses safely. And the next is CCMB in Hyderabad, Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology, which has again a BSL-4 facility. And the third facility is at High Security Animal Disease Laboratory in Bhopal, which is meant for animal diseases. And recently they reported African swine flu in pigs in northern India, and which are asked to be culled by HSADL. So these are the 3 facilities. And that is me in the BSL-4 suit. I trained at Emory University and CDC Atlanta in their level 4 laboratory. So these are the laboratories which can safely handle, because you wear a specialized suit, you go in with the oxygen supply, when you come out, you scrub yourself with Lysol, you're under a shower, you get dried, and then you come and unzip yourself. These labs have the highest level of security. So coming back to the Wuhan lab was something very similar. They were working on this virus, but the dangerous thing was United States funded them $7 million during the former regime under the leadership of Anthony Fauci, who's an infectious disease doctor, saying that to produce and do something called gain of function research. And I need to explain this in this context because Dr. John was mentioning about biodefense. What they do is they take coronaviruses, they try it in the lab to infect monkeys, to infect human cell lines, and they admix these viruses. And when the virus infects human cell lines and monkeys, they decide nature can do this someday. At the end of the day, they collect all these materials and burn it. So the NIH instructed Wuhan laboratory saying that you have 2,500 odd coronavirus collection taken from the bats in China, in the forests in China and caves in China. Why don't you do gain of function research? So it's a very dangerous form of research where the viruses are admixed. They are injected into primates and laboratory animals and into human cell lines. They see if the virus produces ill effects. If it does produce ill effects, they assume someday these viruses can recombine naturally, and we have to be cautious with it. It has got no positive side effect. It has been done regularly in this lab, which was instigated by United States. And as a result, things could have gone wrong. What if one technician stores a vial of that virus instead of destroying it in the evening? So these could have gone wrong. There's no sure evidence for that, but I'm just trying to highlight the dangers of dual use technology, which is very common in these kind of high level centers. India had 3 labs, but these are very biosecure. These are all controlled by the state, and they are very, very safe, in fact, and we don't involve in any kind of malignant biology. But as far as a communist country is concerned, we cannot really be sure what goes behind the Iron Curtain. Now, this is an introduction on various viruses which we are encountering day by day, not only SARS coronavirus. I'm talking about all these viruses because even if we conquer SARS coronavirus 2 today, that is the COVID virus, we might have an outbreak of another virus soon. We never know. We were very complacent after 2003 when SARS came. We never took care of it. We didn't find a drug for it. We didn't find a vaccine. We didn't find a neutralizing antiserum. And today we have a virus which is a cousin of SARS, which has come back in a very big way. So the point is, we need to address every virus outbreak very seriously, and we should be prepared for future outbreaks. Today it is SARS-CoV-2, could be SARS-CoV-2, 3 tomorrow or 4. It can go alphabetically like A, B, C, D, hepatitis B viruses. So the point is, when you understand viruses and when you understand human virology, you need to be open to the concept that viruses will constantly keep invading us. And I look into the ways in which we may contain them and prevent their exposure to the human population. So cure research is a novel concept where you really aim at curing the disease, not just prolonging the illness, but totally curing the disease. So there are a few things which I wish to discuss. Number one is the Oxford vaccine, which is promised a lot. As you can see on the right corner, here is the Jenner Institute, named in honor of Edward Jenner. And this is the Oxford prototype vaccine, which is called a CH80OX1 NOV19. This is a chimp. This is a chimp adenoviral vector system. And this is my university card. I train their people. I know the people who are involved. It is Dr. Andrew Pollard, who is a pediatrician, and Sarah Gilbert, who is a scientist. Both of them have been using this adenoviral vector to release components of SARS-CoV-2 into the human body and thereby induce immune response. There are three things I wish to say. Number one, this model, this template is taken from an Ebola viral vaccine which used the same system of chimp adenovirus. It did have good immunity, but the study got stopped. They didn't try it further. We still don't have an Ebola vaccine. So in a way, we can say this is a failed template. And we are trying to promote this. They have said that they'll be able to churn out at least 80% immunity in vaccinees, and some of the Indian institutions are going to mass manufacture this. There are a lot of claims, but as physicians and scientists and lay people, we need to really look into things with a lot of caution. The promise is good. It's a very reputable institute, and they have done a lot of groundbreaking things in the past. But novel pathogens are really novel, and we cannot underestimate them. So even if a vaccine comes, they can mutate. These are called as vaccine selection pressure mutants, all those things. So this vaccine is very promising, and they're expecting results by September. And within this year, and India might be able to mass manufacture this particular vaccine. It's of great interest to me, but at the same time, I'm not putting my critical thinking down. I'm sure any doctor shouldn't do that. There's a lot of promise in this world, people, but science is all about critically evaluating everything. Right. And the next is BCG and mycobacterial protein. Now, the point is, if you take any protein, if you take a mouse protein, if you take an animal protein and inject it into the human being, it will produce antibodies. It's a rule. Peter Medawar, the Nobel Prize for Immunology, said that you inject any protein, there will be antibody formation. But the question is, will it sustain? Will it address? And things like that. For example, BCG was named after two Pasteur Institute professors, Professor Calmette and Gurin. BCG did not address the primary organism it was meant for. BCG was meant to block tuberculosis, but BCG failed in blocking tuberculosis. We still have TB as a problem in India, so they are coming out with the BCG2. However, BCG, when it did not block the intended organism, it is unlikely it will address another organism. Secondly, BCG is a bacterial vaccine. What we are trying to address here is what we call as a viral vaccine. So these are two different platforms altogether. What BCG can do is it can generally trigger a good immune response. It can increase your immune defenses. It can increase your general immunoglobulin level, but that isn't specific. Okay, the person who is featured here is Professor Nigel Curtis. He was my teacher too, a very jovial person. And he's the one who's trying the trials in Melbourne Hospital. 4,000 people are being injected with BCG2 vaccine, and they're trying to see if they will get infected by this virus or not. I don't think this is a very intelligent approach. We know BCG did not completely succeed with the tuberculosis itself, and whatever antibody it's going to produce, it's going to be non-specific, and it is not going to address it very correctly. At least if it's a related organism, if you are making a vaccine against varicella zoster, some other herpes virus might be protected against it. We don't have cross immunity against different species. One is a bacterial species and another is a novel coronavirus. So I'm not very sure if BCG vaccine, it has got an ability to increase general immunity. Other than that, nothing much of that sort. And same with the mycobacterial protein and sepsis related drug, which I think Cadila is also dealing with. These can increase your general immune response. It has been tried in cancer chemotherapy, in bladder cancers, and so forth. But viruses are very, very specific. We really cannot use, say, for example, a measles vaccine against polio. It will not work, though it's a successful measles vaccine. So it is very specific, and we cannot trigger our non-specific immune defenses. Again and again, putting BCG vaccine can have negative effects. This stems from the thought that countries which had BCG vaccine had lower rates of COVID, and the countries which didn't have BCG vaccine, which is a misunderstanding. Countries which didn't have BCG were colder countries, and COVID-2 virus or COVID-19 virus is winter propagating virus. So the heat and the temperature increase and increase in humidity has a negative effect on the transmission dynamics. That correlate was not taken into consideration. They just went with a general observation. So I have my limitations and my reservations on this approach, and you're always entitled to your own view, but this is what BCG is right now. And this is Robert Gallo. I've shared some time with him at the Institute of Human Virology in USA. He's quite a controversial scientist. He was a co-discoverer of the HIV virus. However, he was denied the Nobel Prize for the same. And this guy came recently in an Indian TV channel along with the Sar Desai. And he said polio virus can be the answer to COVID. First and foremost, I'm not sure how polio virus can address COVID. Both are unrelated. Even if you go by that fact, many children who got infected in India already had polio vaccination. I mean, we haven't abandoned polio vaccination, and we are all polio vaccinated. So he said this can really raise your immunity, and you can fight the disease. That is something which need to be analyzed again and again. I don't think polio virus might be the answer. We need to go in the right direction. We shouldn't be going in a maze of tunnel as far as this virus is concerned. So I will take this a little with a pinch of salt. I'm not sure if oral polio vaccine can address this particular virus. They are not even morphologically related, not even structurally similar. So then again, it's just a suggestion. In science, you're allowed to give a lot of hypotheses and suggestions. Doesn't mean it needs to come true. That's how science works. So we'll be open to suggestions, but at the same time, we will not lower our critical thinking. And this is an Israeli biotech firm, which is basically an agricultural firm. And they say they created a bird coronavirus vaccine, which is an avian coronavirus vaccine. And they say that this coronavirus vaccine is already licensed and approved. And by slowly tweaking it a little bit, they'll be able to fit it to the human coronavirus. If that be true, this could be one of the earliest vaccines which we will get. Their logic seems to be right. But then again, until we get it in hand, we are not very sure if this will be of great use. And the next thing in Israel has come out recently is a monoclonal antibody. They say it has neutralized the virus very well. In fact, India has got a lot of monoclonal antibodies already, tocilizumab, and so many monoclonals which can neutralize the antivirals. I'm sure Cadila also is working in those lines. And obviously, these antiviral monoclonal antibodies have a lot of side effects by themselves. They do address interleukin-6 and the cytokine storm, the tumor necrosis factor, and all the hyper-inflammatory markers and cascades. But then again, administering this needs to be done with caution, and it addresses the what we call as the surge of chemicals, but it doesn't address the vaccine. Sorry, the virus. It doesn't address the virus. We still need an antiviral drug. It addresses a component of COVID-19, a component of the disease, but not the entire disease. So this can be an adjuvant in the treatment of COVID-19, but not the mainstream itself. Nothing can be the mainstream. We need to use a large arsenal of drugs and even antibiotics as secondary cover if we need to overcome a condition like COVID, because it's got multi-system, unrelated, syndromic manifestation. You have cerebral manifestation, intestinal, and things like that. So these are the developments from Israel. And of course, India-wise, we are the largest manufacturer. We are the world's #1 pharmaceutical leading country. We have donated hydroxyquinine to so many countries as a goodwill gesture. I really appreciate that. Bharat Biotech and Pune-based Serum Institute, they are trying their own set of vaccines. Plus, they are trying to collaborate with international collaborators and trying to make large-scale amount of vaccines. If NIH or anybody makes a vaccine or Oxford makes a template, we need to replicate with this institution. So India is becoming a powerhouse of global knowledge and other things. So that is very important contribution from India. And China is also not very behind. The leading Chinese pharmaceutical called Sinopharma is trying their own vaccines. They created the disease, so they better answer the disease. That's how I look at it. So we don't know what stage these vaccines are. There are several candidate vaccines. Moderna's mRNA vaccine is also on trial, which is from the NIH. So until we get this vaccine and really have it around for 2 to 3 years, we won't be able to find out if this virus is really amenable to this. A lot of promise and a lot of things on the anvil, but reality is very different, and we need to be a little cautious on that. So convalescent plasma was highly prophesized, and it was promoted a lot. Recently, there's been a little withdrawal because there were fatalities in a couple of people. So convalescent plasma is a very simple method. It's an age-old method. We've been using it from yesteryears, like anti-tetanus serum and diphtheria toxins. These are all part of convalescent plasma technology. Only same like snake antivenom is again convalescent plasma. So convalescent plasma is taken from a person who's recovered from the infection. It is infused into a person who's currently suffering. The only drawback is the patient who donates shouldn't have other infectious diseases like HIV and syphilis and things like that. Once that screening is done, this can be sent. But there can be serum reactions, there can be anaphylaxis, there can be other complications with what we call as convalescent plasma. And Takeda, the Japanese company, is trying to lyophilize and synthetically derive the convalescent plasma so that it can be stored for a long time, reconstituted and infused into people. So that is the convalescent plasma part. And then I will definitely touch upon the drugs. Remdesivir was one of the biggest drugs promised by Gilead Sciences, who made sofosbuvir, tenofovir, and all the antiviral drugs. Remdesivir failed to make the impact. It was a drug meant for Ebola virus, and now it has been repurposed for this particular illness, and it didn't live up to its promise. Hydroxychloroquine has too much of toxicities. In India, we are prolifically giving it to every doctor and other person on the front line. The biggest toxicity of hydroxyquinine is severe cardiotoxicity, everything from acute cardiac arrest, sudden cardiac death, to QRS intervals, increasing arrhythmias and things like that. And apart from that, it can also cause severe hypoglycemia. And ivermectin in laboratory studies has been proven to eliminate the virus within a couple of days. That is only in a in vitro model. We are still to see it in vivo models. Favipiravir is a promising drug, again a Japanese drug. Bangalore-based Strides Pharma is trying to make this drug. It's a little better than remdesivir. Then again, only time will tell if this drug is working. So these are the reviews on the drugs which are currently available with the different pharmaceutical companies and innovators. Now we need to see the global health implications of this entire thing, the global health implications of this particular pandemic. Number one, currently we all believe the home is a sanctuary of protection, safety, and warmth. Anybody who comes out is asked to go back to their houses, stay in the safety of houses. I've seen bright write-ups saying, be in the home or you'll end up being in the ICU. Things like that. But the bottom line is, as the number of people get infected, the number of people in the population increases, the home will become unsafe. Because of these things, your urban ecosystem is very important. And your spatial proximity. In India, we are all staying very close to each other, unlike Australia, where there's a lot of divide between people. So this spatial proximity, along with the plumbing and affluent management in India, is not all that great. So this virus, if there is an infected person next door, through the ventilation system, to the exhaust pipes, to your plumbing, he or she will be able to transmit to the nearest homes. So that is the tricky thing. And it did happen in 2003. As you can see, this is Amoy Garden in Taiwan, where one person was staying on top who had SARS-CoV-1, and he ended up infecting 550 people on the same building. So Taiwan had to evacuate everyone and completely sterilize the building and then try reoccupation. As you can see, every day when he was flushing it, the exhaust fan carried it out, and through a leaky plumbing system, the entire virus aerosol spread to the other places. So this is the problem in high-rise apartments. This could also be a problem in houses which are very close to each other. That's like Dharavi right now, which is an epicenter of this infection. So someday homes might also become risky. So we need to understand this concept that inter-habitat transmission scenarios do exist, and we need to be very, very cautious on that. Yeah. So the next thing is, I was talking with Dr. Ebenezer, and they're trying to formulate a guideline for infection prevention in orthopedic setting. Air purifiers are a great way to control aerosol. If you have an ionizing air purifier in your outpatient or your OT room, this ionization damages the electrostatic charges of your aerosol. The aerosol doesn't travel much duration. It falls short of the length it was supposed to travel. The half-life of the aerosol decreases a lot. So having an air purifier in your car, in your operation theaters, and also in your OPDs can greatly add to all the efforts you're taking in wearing PPE and masks and disinfectants and things like that. This is very, very important as far as surgical practice is concerned. And I would like to insist that air purifiers, especially ionizing air purifiers, which have a very long shelf life, can be very safely installed in all these areas, and they can drastically reduce the life or biological half-life of every breath, every cough, every sneeze. So you are doubly protected. The moment the viral load in the room, air comes down, it is much safer for you to not get infected. So this is something which everyone can implement. It's easy, simple, can be done everywhere. And the next thing is UVC technology. As you know, Bangalore-based startup has come out with Corona ovens, and even Samsung has introduced a technology where ultraviolet light can be used to disinfect coronavirus in the air. In your OPDs and your operation theater, cheap and easily available UVC generating lights are there. If you could fix it on the ceilings and switch it on in the night and come back in the morning, they'll ensure that complete sterilization happens. The only negative is when it is on, you shouldn't enter the area because it can damage your eyes and skin. But that's a very small safety hazard. This can be very safely used in the hospital corridors, in your outpatient room, in your waiting rooms. You just have to switch it on and leave it for a few hours, and that can greatly reduce the viral burden in the atmosphere. And that is very, very important way and a simple technology which can be implemented. We are trying to incorporate that in your guidelines. We'll be mentioning in detail. And finally, I think this is one very important. I was discussing with Dr. Amarnath. In orthopedics in particular, we're using a lot of rotary instruments, drilling instruments, and there is also water lavage to prevent heating and to removal of debris. What can be done is a biocide can be added to the water combination or saline combination. When you're using distilled water of saline, you can add a appropriate biocide. One of the recommended biocide is 7% povidone iodine diluted. Can be added to this. So when the iodine spray is coming up, or povidone iodinized water is coming up, it will be able to reduce the burden of the viruses in the aerosol, the total viral count in the aerosol. It can result in inactivation of the virus, which is very, very, very important. And this can be tried out in scenarios when bone drilling, trepanation, and cutting piezoelectric material, and all those things are being used. So this is a very important thing which can be considered to reduce the chances of infection. So I think we will try to incorporate this in this guidelines. And one of the efficient things which can be used is povidone iodine. Then nano silver liquid is also recommended. Sodium hypochlorite is excellent. The only problem is it can cause a little bit of tissue toxicity. Liquid phase, vapor phase hydrogen peroxide can be tried. There are few other biocides which can be considered. We'll be adding that to the guidelines coming up. And finally, I wish to say every orthopedician has to be a physician scientist. I'm sure there are a lot of other specialists also, but predominantly orthopedic doctors. In 2010, I got elected into this prestigious academy at Vatican called the Pontifical Academy. We are advisors to the Pope. And along with me was elected this particular person, who is an orthopedic surgeon. His name is Shinya Yamanaka. He's a Japanese orthopedic surgeon, but he's currently a Nobel laureate and is the father of stem cell biology. So just being surgeons and things is one thing, but in today's world, when we have so much of viruses and infectious organisms coming in, we need to be scientists also. So I took this beautiful icon where you have a scalpel on one side, your Bart Parker knife with your scalpel and the pipette on the other side. So you'll be a physician scientist, and I'm sure Dr. Amarnath seems to be happy about that angle. So this is Shinya Yamanaka. So you'll be a surgeon scientist, a physician scientist. Think beyond the box. Don't just be following guidelines, because the guidelines will say there is no human-to-human transmission. The next day they'll come up with a statement saying, no, we have human-to-human transmission. So by then anybody could be exposed. So have your own critical thinking and analytical skills. Guidelines are just arbitrary. They need not be followed with so much of vigor and enthusiasm. We can consider them as a framework, but not an end to everything. And finally, this is something personally I wanted to do. I wish to dedicate this talk to these two corona warriors. Both of them were orthosurgeons. In a way, he was a spinal surgeon. This is Dr. Lakshmi Narayan Reddy, who succumbed to coronavirus while operating a patient. He probably contracted the virus, and you know what happened. This is the Indian scenario, and he was not even given a decent burial. I salute this man for his bravery and his great valor, and that is Dr. Simon Hercules, who again was a spine surgeon. So in a way, a subdivision of orthopedic surgery. He also died, and we all know what happened. So with all seriousness, orthopedic surgery has a huge risk of being exposed to coronavirus and coronaviral aerosols. So it is very important as the lockdown settles and as we go into routine practice and things like that, we need to be very cautious on certain things, and we need to think beyond the box and the routine thought process, so that we may protect ourselves and our clients and patients and our families. So that is something I really wanted to do. And thank you very much, and thanks for your patient listening, and I'm ready for questions. Thank you.
Gifty, thank you. Thank you. It was pretty elaborate, and you gave us the clarity of, right from the origin of virology to the kind of thing what the global health scenario comes in. And two things I just wanted to sort of highlight here, obviously, is people are getting confused, one, with the post-COVID. People talk about post-COVID, post-COVID. I don't think there is going to be post-COVID. It's going to be post-lockdown. So they should understand that, and probably you can give a little more on that. And the second thing, we need to understand is the social distancing people talk about. Today, we need to talk about the physical distancing rather than social distancing.
Correct.
So what do you think on those 2 points, Gifty?
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Manath. Number one is, as far as the social or physical distancing is concerned, this is a very simple public health tool which is used to prevent the risk, avoid risk of exposure. That's what they are trying to say. Avoid the risk of exposure by distancing yourself from the source of virus generation. That is a supposedly infectious patient. But then they found out even 3 feet or 6 feet is not enough. Viral transmission have happened even with 12 feet, the inter-person distance of 12 or 13 feet. So 3 and 6 feet are the minimal distances. In reality, you might need around 10 or 12 feet. That might not be possible in a country like India, which is densely populated, which is very hard to maintain that kind of social distance, number one. And number two, the idea is if both the people are masked, at least minimum of 3 feet difference could make much of difference, because at least you are not directly in the line of fire. That is the concept behind social distancing. But if you have to be totally thank you, Dr. Ebenezer. If you have to be totally this thing, you need to have at least 12 to 13 feet. No guideline is going to say that, but transmissions have happened within 6 feet also. So the more the distancing, the better. The more the distancing, the better. And your second question is, the COVID is still with us. It is not eradicated. And post-lockdown, as we go into the real world, the chances are the infection rates can double or quadruple with time. Unless we maintain a lot of sanity and we maintain very rigorous discipline of controlling and containing the disease, it's very likely it will spread to a lot of people. So I think post lockdown, there might be intermittent lockdowns. There won't be complete lockdowns. If there is something spiking up, there'll be intermittent lockdown. Then come back to normalcy, because we need normal activity also, economy in concern, human mobility, other diseases and things like that. And the second thing is, unless we have a powerful antiviral to treat the people who are infected and an effective vaccine to treat people who are not yet infected prophylactically, we will not be having tools to come out of it. We are simply using the tools which were used in the 1918 Spanish flu outbreak or pandemic. We don't have tools which are current in the matter. We don't have anything, like for example, we don't have anything which is cutting edge. We are using basic common sense approach. If you see a leper, move away. That was the olden times approach. If you touch anything infectious, wash your hands. If somebody is coughing, go away. So these are all very common sense approach. There's a little bit of science to it, but it's more of a common sense public health approach. This cannot be the sole tools. We need to have vaccination. We need to have antiviral drugs. With that, we need to have social distancing too. Even if you are vaccinated, I would recommend social distancing, because vaccine only protects you to a certain level. If the inoculum size is huge, you will get infected. So that is the important thing. So somebody's asked me a question on text saying that remdesivir is a modern Tamiflu. In a way, Tamiflu was an oral medication, and there was some resistance to it. Remdesivir is an intravenous medication, and they're still not decided on the duration of dose. Perimavir, which is like oseltamivir, is an injectable. So we can compare remdesivir with perimavir, not with oseltamivir. So those two are comparable. But usually Gilead changes small molecules, and they come with a newer small structural changes. If I have to say what are the analogs for remdesivir, sofosbuvir, which is given in hepatitis C, and tenofovir, which is given in HIV. These are analogs to remdesivir. I'm not recommending them. I'm just saying these are analogs to remdesivir. Remdesivir was an Ebola drug which failed. It was not created for what we call as this particular pandemic in concern. To create a new drug, to create a new vaccine, it takes 10 years and $1 billion. I am sure Mr. Kaushik will agree on that, or even more. So with that kind of burden, we will not be able to create new drugs. We'll have to scavenge and look like a treasure hunt for old drugs which are, possible and things like that.
Dr. Bharat has asked a couple of questions there. I mean, you have answered that in one of the slides. I'll read that for you. Dr.
Sure.
Bharat Dave from, is he still there? I'm not sure whether he's there.
He's there. He's from Ahmedabad.
Yeah, but
okay.
Yeah.
Bharat, can you come online? Can lab make a virus? That is a question he's asked. You answered that already.
That's a very interesting question. Hello, Dr. Bharat. Namaste. We cannot create a virus from scratch. We cannot create life form. We are still not reached that stage. What is possible is you can recombine two viruses. Either you can do by something called genetic manipulation, where you have molecular scissors called as excision endonucleases. These are enzymes. You can excise the DNA and recombine DNA. You can use the base of SARS coronavirus 1 and add genes from other viruses, and you can do this kind of collage work. Or you can make two viruses, infect a laboratory animal, wait for the recombination to happen naturally, and then get the new virus. When you do this approach, nobody can find out you're tampered because you are trying to emulate nature. So we can only recombine viruses. We cannot create new viruses. So the term which is misinterpreted is this virus was created in the lab. It's not from the building blocks they have created a virus. They've only used existing viruses and tampered with them to create a new one. That's it. Not from scratch.
It's literally genetically modified viruses.
Yes, it is gene surgery has been. Gene surgery.
Then, Dr. Emmanuel, I have a small query here. Right, you said in the beginning that China and US were trying to do some research on this bio
gain for function.
They were creating a virus. Maybe at that point only Dr. Bharat has typed that question, what I assume.
Yes.
So is it the creation at that moment?
What they do is they take a few existing viruses, they mix them in the lab, and they try to infect laboratory animals which are close to humans, like monkeys and like badgers and squirrels and things like that. And they see if it develops disease in them. If it does develop disease, they assume that nature can do this in another 20 years' time. So we need to be cautious with this. It's a very stupid experiment. There is no outcome of this experiment. At the end of the day, after all this observation, they take all the contents and incinerate it, burn it. But in a country like China, there could be technicians who will save 2 samples in the deep freezer. So this gain for function is a way of knowing these things can go out. It's something like a controlled explosion in an army barracks. They try new ordinances by controlled explosion, just to see if the bomb is working in a controlled manner. Just like our nuclear devices, which are tried and tested in Pokhran 1, 2, and things like that. So this is a biological equivalent of a controlled explosion. So this can go wrong, and this is unwanted. You can use surrogates like mathematical modeling, like computer simulation, and things like that. You don't touch the biological material because biosecurity was not very high in Wuhan. It is likely these things an animal could have escaped, a technician could have carried out, because the technician who collected the bird samples, the bat samples, was not wearing enough protective attire. Once or twice he got bat droppings and bat urine on him. So these are people who will do it without even knowing if it can be very dangerous. So unless you have a lot of expertise with viruses, it's better not to handle them. Better not to even come close to them.
In fact, Dr. Hiten is asking one more question there on similar. See, virus is mutating so fast. Now, in what kind of vaccine can be looked at? Is it now the batch 1 is produced? By the time you get the batch 1, batch 2 will have something different. We may have to look at some other mutation of the virus to cover that. It's like influenza virus, like what we do every year.
Correct. So
that might happen to us in a corona situation as well, probably.
Yes. I think when you make a corona vaccine, right now the virus is having a very happy day.
Yeah.
It is encountering a human immune system which has no resistance. It is very happy, so it's not mutating much. But the day we introduce a vaccine, the selection pressure, the Darwinian selection pressure on the virus will come, so the virus will mutate more. Then we'll have vaccine escape mutants. So the next year we'll have to increase more strains, just like trivalent flu vaccine, quadrivalent flu vaccine,
Yeah.
and someday we might have universal flu vaccine, which need not be given daily. So that point can be reached with the coronaviruses also. At least even if you have a 60% effective vaccine, it is still good enough for today's world. It is still good enough. We can always improve the generation, first generation, second generation, fifth generation, it will be superb.
Yeah.
At least the vaccine gives you a way forward. So it is okay even if the virus mutates, virus will mutate. There is no second thoughts. Smallpox was a DNA virus, it was very obedient. But HIV and hepatitis C and corona are RNA virus. Hepatitis B was a DNA virus. That's why it obeyed. So RNA viruses will not behave like DNA viruses. They will mutate faster. Mutation for them is not a way of escaping vaccine. It is their way of life. Their mutations are handicaps. And this mutation, some might succeed, which is called as a successful quasi-species. Some might fail. So it's like an aberration. But the aberration is also helping the virus. It's a little complex to comprehend.
So it's not easy to sort of say how fast the mutation happens.
No, because once you put it under pressure, it will do its job. It will mutate, it will become resistant. Suppose remdesivir comes, within 1 year, it will become resistant. We have to go for galidesivir. Then that will become resistant. So, I mean, it's a kind of, we have to keep on increasing the thing. And if you have to eradicate this virus, only a vaccine and a drug can do it.
Dr. Jha wants to ask something. Dr. Jha?
Yes. I just wanted to know that SARS-CoV-2 is an enveloped virus.
Yes.
If it was a non-enveloped one, it could have been more attacking, less attacking. Any comments?
That's a nice question. The envelope of the virus makes it vulnerable for detergents. When you wash your hands with soap and water or with betadine surgical scrub, it makes it very vulnerable to destruction. So that is one thing. When it's an enveloped virus, it's vulnerable to disinfectants. It is not a hardy virus. If it is a non-enveloped virus, the disinfectants have to be of a slightly different category. However, this doesn't determine its virulence. Virulence is determined by the spike protein, the rapidity of RNA multiplication, the genes within the virus, and things like that. It doesn't determine the virulence, but it makes it vulnerable for soap and water.
So if the envelope breaks, what happens to the RNA strand?
Everything gets inactivated.
Right. So there are 4 protein bands. One of the bands gets attached to that RNA molecule, RNA strand. So this strand will get disintegrated.
For example, when the virus comes and docks on a AC2 receptor,
right,
it has to have something called TMPRSS co-chemokine to inject its material. And then after injecting its material, it is able to block it. It is able to multiply the template, and it is our own cell, our own pneumocystes in the lung, which produces more coronaviruses. So there is a close relation. We are like a Xerox machine. It is coming and keeping a paper and pressing 10 copies. We are making the copies. So the virus is not a virus which is doing everything on its own. 20 to 30% it is genetic material. Rest all is from our cell. So I think both the human cell and the virus has something in common. It's an evolutionary background. We have something in common. So the virus is able to take our own host material and make it, and our cell is fully cooperating. So there is an origin of viral theory which says viruses could be our own cells which went away from us.
Right. So inside the circulation, this virus is as such with its envelope, or it is only the RNA which is circulating?
Once it enters the cell, the envelope is kept outside. The outer coat is completely removed. Only the genetic material goes in, and 10 new virions will come up.
Right.
Yeah, one of the smallest misconception is a virus only when it's inside the cell. When it's outside the cell, it's called virion. That is not the virus. But you type for virus picture, they'll put an individual virus. When it's an individual virus, it's a basic thing. When it's an individual virus, it's called a virion. When it is within the cell, in conjugation with the human host cell, it is called a virus. But you ask anyone to draw a picture of virus, they'll draw a virus with spike. So that's the difference between them.
And Dr. Pratik Patel is asking a question there. I think you have seen that,
Yeah.
you want to answer that?
Yes, sure.
If mutation and, on RNA, yeah, go on.
Yes, Dr. Patel.
No, the question is, if mutation rate is higher in RNA, then enhancing the innate immunity can be a good strategy to adjunct with the viral drugs.
Innate immunity is a very non-specific immunity. For example, our ciliary defenses in the nose are part of innate immunity. Our sweating, our sweating is part of innate immunity. Our superficial skin cells, Langerhans giant cells, they are all part of the innate immunity. Now, by giving a vaccine like polio vaccine or other things and increasing the innate immunity, to an extent can help in the transmission of virus. But even if one viral particle gets attached to your ACE2 receptor, the infection will get through. It is not a specific defense. It is only a very basic defense. But he is right when he says if the innate immunity is strong, it will work well in synergy with the chemotherapeutic drugs, right? That's what he's trying to say, right? So that is true. If your innate immunity is good, then you will be able to fight better. You will not get reinfected. Your vaccine-induced immunity will be strong. Innate immunity is the first defense, actually. Even things like the chemicals in sweat and your in lysozymes in your tears and your nasal ciliary action, even your cough reflex, even your sneezing, they're all part of the innate immune system. But it's a very non-specific immune system. So it's very hard to specifically block a particular virus. We need immunological memory and specific T cells which will target that particular virus, and antiviral antibodies which will neutralize it.
In fact, the other thing is about our immunity itself. I mean, in terms of taking the regular, say, for example, vitamins and minerals we're taking too.
Yes.
Vitamin D is an immune modulator.
Yes.
With vitamin D, I mean, if you're going to keep your immunity up, I mean, it can shield to a certain extent. I'm not saying it's going to be the, total cover, but at least some sort of a shielding for the virus will be there. And you also last time told us about how the flip-flop happens with the immunity of the host. Could you elaborate a little on that?
Yeah. For example, when a person recovers from COVID infection, many times within the next 3 months, they show positive again, and some of them have had overt symptoms again and died. This is because of a mechanism which is seen in other viruses like hepatitis B called as flip-flopping of antigen. When I treat hepatitis B patients, they become negative. 2 months later, they are positive. So that means to say our antiviral strategy has to be for a little prolonged time. It shouldn't be abruptly ended. So currently, if you're treating COVID for 10 days, we might extend it a bit for next 10, 20 days so that we make sure the viral clearance is total. Because we are not checking the viral load on clearance. Yeah. We don't know if the viral load is still high. It's unlikely viral load will fall in 5 days. Viral load would have come down reasonably, but it will only be a total fall. So in COVID, there are 2 parameters you need to monitor. One is the immunological parameter, your cytokine storm, your WBC response, your antibody formation. Another is the virological parameter. The endpoints have not yet been determined, but then the physician who is treating should use it in such a way that he has to make sure the antiviral drug or experimental drug is given for a little more time. And if possible, a viral load test is also done Right now, how much of possibility of this, I'm not sure. But in future, if we see the viral load becomes undetectable, and we can slowly wane off the drugs. Otherwise, the flip-flopping can happen. And reactivation and reinfection is also possible because the immunological memory is not long-standing. So what happens if they get exposed to COVID infection again, the likelihood of becoming infected is quite high. Natural infection to COVID-19 does not afford protection against future COVID-19 infections. If that is the truth, then vaccine also will suffer from this concept. But some diseases, natural infection doesn't afford protection, vaccine affords protection. For example, tetanus. You can get tetanus today, survive, and still get tetanus next year. But if you take a shot of tetanus toxide, you will never get tetanus. So the vaccine-induced immunity will work, but natural infection-related immunity is not working. Probably the mechanism is very frail in a natural infection.
In fact,
Mainly because the virus down-regulates our immune response. It doesn't want you to have an immune response. In a vaccine, we add things like alum and all this adjuvant so that you have more immune response, what we call as a robust immune response. But as far as this is concerned, the virus down-regulates and downplays your immune response, misleads your immunity, switches to autoimmunity and things like that. It doesn't want you to have a good immune response, a specific immune response. So that could be, yeah.
So it is better to have an immune suppressant than an immune booster.
I would recommend it this way: be normal, be healthy, be active, and don't take anything to boost your immune system. It is really not required. All we need is the right kind of immunity, not low immunity, not hypoimmunity, not hyperimmunity. Just the right kind of immunity is good enough. There is no boosting like Chyawanprash or vitamin C or zinc supplementation, or like going to gym and doing a lot of whey protein and you will die faster. Because like a judo player, the virus will turn your strength against you. It will turn your weight against you. It will turn your immunity against you. So don't be hyper on immunity. Just be on right on immunity. So what we are trying in a COVID infection is immunomodulation.
So vitamin D would be a good option for us now because vitamin D is a good modulator.
Taking vitamin D is excellent against many diseases, including tuberculosis. Indians can have vitamin D. So it is absolutely, it's okay that you can take it. But it will, there is no guarantee it will not specifically protect against this particular virus. Even in certain hospitals now, they're asking the patient to stand in the sun. COVID patients are asked to stand in the sun.
That's exactly.
Because they believe natural D can be synthesized and things like that. But you should be careful in a place like Gujarat. There could be a sunstroke if you are standing in the sun and things like that. So we need to be cautious on that part. Instead, you can give supplements.
And there are some questions coming up now on the chat box where, see, now people are asking, I mean, I know this is maybe a non-medical, who is this? Shweta from Davangere is asking, I mean, will it cause any problem to wear the mask for 10 hours? I mean, we as surgeons, we are doing it, Shweta. I don't think we have a problem there. And you want to comment anything on that, Gifty?
Yeah, the masks are being reused. It's absolutely fine. And the way to sterilize the mask is very important, holy grail. Number one, you can use ultraviolet light, which is good enough, or you can have a pack of 7 or 8 masks, sun dry it, just sun dry it, and use the last mask which you used on the next Monday, things like that. And when you are wearing mask for extended periods of time, two things can happen. The mask will lose its conformity. It's very important of the fit of the mask is very important because the aerosol can travel like this also, not just a frontal attack. It can travel like this. We know this Brownian movement and Tyndall effect, which we studied in high school physics. The particle can randomly travel, not necessarily like a diagrammatic travel like this. So when it travels like this, the conformity of the mask is more important than the layers of the mask, the conformity. Number two, because of the human biological material, like your talking, vaporization, your breath, your sneeze, your cough, your sweat, and your gingival fluids, all of them will contaminate the mask. So the mask becomes soggy. So you might, change a couple of masks. And it is impossible to wear mask 24/7. You need to eat, you need to drink, and you need to sleep, and you need to take baths. So it's a given that nobody can wear a mask 24/7. But when you are in a hot zone, when you are in a highly infectious zone, definitely respiratory protection is number one. Number one. Cutaneous protection is number two. And percutaneous protection is number three. We still haven't had any report saying this is a percutaneously transmitted virus like HIV or hepatitis C. Cutaneous also, you can wash it with soap or put sterilium or disinfectants or anything like that. Kerala is developing a disinfectant soon, and things like that. We are working on it for rapid action, and it will destroy the envelope virus. But once a respiratory exposure happens, you cannot reverse it.
So like in cutaneous, like most of us men, when we share.
Yes, let us say somebody with the COVID sneezed on your hand.
Yeah.
If you can wash it off and apply alcohol, or you can right away put something like sterilium on it, or any anti-alcohol, 70% absolute alcohol is also fine. It will immediately inactivate it. But somebody sneezed in near your nose or face or eye, then the mucus exposure, eye, nose, and mouth. And a lot of people are wearing mouth mask here because it says mouth mask. It doesn't mean I mean, in cricket, we call it as kidney guard while it is worn in the scrotal area. Obviously, it's not a kidney guard. So mouth mask means it also includes the nose. There's a misunderstanding. Mouth mask is mouth.
I mean, in fact, the N95 per se is okay for us to not to infect others, but ourselves, we are exposed in that true sense. And the FFP3, I have asked for about, I think, about 15 distributors in the country.
No, you won't get it in the name FFP3. Even in the guidelines, I wanted to change that FFP3. FFP3 is a UK only guideline.
Correct.
I can understand your loyalty to UK. It is called as N100.
N100, yeah. That's the point I wanted to share with you.
Yeah.
And in fact, people who are literally wanting to have that, N100 would be the right kind of mask.
Yes.
And there's a question which she is asking, if there is a reinfection happening, does it need to be quarantined? I think every infection we need to quarantine.
Yeah. The reinfection needs to be treated like any other infection. Yeah. And reinfection sometimes can be very, very, very severe.
And one more. Yeah, go on. And then the biggest question that everybody's asking now, I go to a supermarket, I pick up my vegetables. In fact, she's asking that question there. Is only salt water enough? Or what should I do with the vegetables, fruits, and the grains and things like that? Last time you didn't mention that. I know we are practicing it. If you can elaborate for the people for the first time.
Many guideline authorities are very silent on this. And many of them are recommending just washing with water is enough. I don't think so. If washing with water is enough, our hand washing with water should be enough. So the point is, when you get groceries from a store, please create a dunk tank or use an ice bucket, fill it with water, use a mild soapy solution, soak your groceries for 5 minutes or 5 minutes should be fine, then rinse it thoroughly. The only problem is disinfection poisoning, which is happening when you're using sodium hypochlorite, when you're using soap. If you're not rinsing it well, it can go into things like that. So if you are using something like that, as Dr. John, I was discussing, the soap will break the envelope of the virus. Even if the remnant viral material are there, it cannot replicate. And physically washing it will do a lavage on the remnants. So soap and water is ideal. All you have to do is rinse it very hard. So that is my take on it. It's not a universal guideline. It is my take on it. So if you're using soap, make sure it's liquid soap and not a blotchy bar soap. And make sure it's not a very harsh soap. We are not looking at cleaning the vegetable totally. Soak the vegetable in it and nicely rinse it later. That is very important. Worst case scenario, you can get diarrhea, but it's better than getting corona.
Absolutely. In fact,
Sir, I have two questions.
In the past, we were cleaning the vegetables with, potassium permanganate kind of crystals. Would that be okay now?
Yeah, potassium permanganate or vegetable vinegar has no effect.
No effect on them.
No
Okay, Kaushik.
Sir, I have two queries. One is, they say that there are so many strains of this virus.
Yes.
And in Ahmedabad, there is one lethal strain going on, which is
A2.
definitely a killing strain.
Mhm.
First of all, what is this all about? And lethal strain, non-lethal strain.
Correct.
And COVID-2 is one infection which is happening, but there are so many parts of it.
Correct.
Number two, we are planning to come with this hand wash, sanitizer, disinfectant. Which should be the best one from a virologist point of view,
Oh, nice.
which can really benefit the mankind, which can really benefit the people who need it. These are the only two.
Very nice questions. Very nice questions. Actually, number one, to begin with, the virus, when it started in Wuhan, which was the epicenter or the hot zone, when it came out, it was under different selection pressure in different countries. So it went into clades, CLADES, which means substrains. Substrains of virus. A2 substrain is supposed to be very lethal, and that is more common in Gujarat. So the distribution of the substrain depends on the human movement and migration. Suppose predominantly the initial person who carried a lesser strain, he could have spread it, he could have been a super spreader, he could have spread it to a lot of people. So these strains are not going to be only one clade. Even in Ahmedabad or elsewhere, Gandhinagar, if you check those strains, there will be a combination strains, and rarely they can co-infect the same person also. Two different strains, one lethal and one less lethal, can co-infect the same person. That's how they were born in the first place. They co-infected a pangolin. So co-infections are possible. Admixing of strains are possible, which is called as circulating recombinant forms. Highly mutated and more virulent strains are possible. So if a virulent strain is catching up, the death rate will be more, the complication rates will be more, the organ shutdowns will be more. If other strains are circulating, the things will be much better. On the whole, the severity of the strain largely depends on the host. Even if it's a virulent strain, if the host is non-reactive, it will pass away. Even if it's an average strain and the host is overreactive, it will grow. So a virus can be graded based on virulence, but more than virulence is the virus-host interaction. That is the key. That is the key. So if you're dominant and I become submissive, our equation works very well.
Yeah.
If you're dominant and I am also dominant, then there's a clash of ideas. So something similar to this. So A2 strain is supposed to be quite lethal and things like that. But then again, in HIV also, we have the same thing. C strain was more common in this thing, B strain in our hemisphere, and circulating recombinant forms also, B and C mixing up, all those things are possible. HIV 1 and 2 in the same person. That is also rarely possible. So all this co-infections and circulation and all those things. So a new viral quasi-species is created all the time, which are all competing for survival, and the most lethal will again survive. It's something like Darwinian evolution happening at the molecular level. And the second question is, if you are creating, I think which we have discussed with you also, if you are creating an alcohol-based sanitizer, the best is 2 propanol and 1 propanol, which has got the quickest action. The neutralizing the virus very quickly. 70% absolute alcohol is great, 80% is good, but above 80% it becomes quickly evaporable. So there is no enough contact time. So the ideal is around 70 to 75, not more than that. Number one. Number two, there are different types of alcohol, ethanol, methanol, everything. But the greatest alcohol to neutralize any virus is 2 propanol and 1 propanol. So if you have an ingredient of this in your sanitizer, it is going to be specifically, you are giving the sanitizer to a specific group. It's not a general, average, like Lifebuoy sanitizer. No, this is specific.
Not for laymen. Yeah.
Exactly. It is for the frontline workers who will be exposed cutaneously. So so if it has 2, 3 propanol or 2 and 1 propanol, it will be great. Number 2. Chlorhexidine. Chlorhexidine is more for MRSA and other things. The greatest thing about chlorhexidine is got a residual action. Now in corona, we don't want much of residual action. We want instant action, rapidity than longevity. In MRSA, it is longevity. You need to be protected against MRSA. So in nursing homes, old age homes, you can use chlorhexidine for the residual antibacterial effect, not antiviral. That is, as far as hand wash is concerned, 7.5 povidone iodine kills the virus within 2 minutes contact time. Alcohols within 30 seconds, and if it's propranolol within 10 seconds, and if it is what we call as povidone iodine, 7.5 minutes. Povidone iodine works only when you add water, not direct strength. If you add water, the iodine is released. Otherwise, it won't release.
Okay.
So 2 minutes contact, and sodium hypochlorite 0.5% for cutaneous use and 1% for inanimate objects use. But it's a harsh chemical. It can be used as an environmental disinfectant, like tablets, sprays. Like in America, we have this spray called Clorox, which is very good. Everything is ready. You can just spray. So we don't have environmental sprays in India. So if you can come with a 1% sodium hypochlorite spray, it will be great.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Sir, one more from your answer only. Now, if a person gets exposed and he is quarantined, and we don't have vaccine, we don't have any medication, that means this virus is still present in the system.
Yes.
He is exposed, he is quarantined, he comes back. So he is having all the risk to get the reinfection or second infection or the manifestation of the infection again.
Yeah, once a person is exposed, he either develops a disease or does not develop a disease.
Yeah.
Even if he develops a disease or does not develop a disease, if he is re-exposed, he will again develop the disease.
In fact, Gifty, Kaushik, I'm going to show that here. I'm not sure it's going to be seen there. Caecilium has the propranolol, what Gifty was talking about.
Yeah. We have.
You guys already have it in your hand. In fact, this is one of the best ones. In fact, I've been using it for a long time.
It is ours only. Caecilium is ours only.
Absolutely. So this is sterilium, and which is I keep in the car, I keep in the clinic, I keep in my house. My domestics come, everybody using it. It's one of the best ones I have it, And a couple of questions here. Srijit is asking about now people are coming from abroad. Now, is quarantine 14 days enough for us, or is it 1 month to be done? He's asking.
No, I think 14-day quarantine is a beautiful thing because you calculate it this way. Hello?
You go on, Gifty.
It is based, you calculate the quarantine time by multiplying the disease time by 2. The disease duration is roughly 1 week.
Yeah.
So twice that is your incubation time into 2 is the quarantine time. Suppose the incubation time, the shortest incubation time, the longest incubation time, it can be calculated very easily. So the longest incubation time at the maximum can be 14 days. So if you can get the disease, you will get it within 14 days. However, there will be a small subset of people who will be slow responders. So they might not show overt disease for a longer period of time, but these are standard these things.
In fact, Dr. Shrikant is asking a question about, there's a paper in US Defense Institute which said injecting, influenza vaccine led to 36% of coronavirus infection.
Which vaccine?
Influenza vaccine.
Yeah, there was, they all tried to correlate that by saying if you take influenza vaccine, then your chance of getting corona might be lower because cross immunity can work and things like that. But from the beginning, it was proven that influenza vaccine has no role to the extent now they're saying influenza and corona will be America's next pandemic in another 2 months. They're going to get 2 pandemics now. The currently running corona and the new invitee seasonal influenza. So they are going to get co-infected.
And Gifty, you're talking about chemical and cleaning the vegetables and fruits. There's a question now, can we use turmeric water?
Turmeric water, turmeric and neem and Andrographis paniculata, all of them have antiviral effect, but there is no guarantee that this will kill the virus. For a virus kill, you need to have laboratory studies substantiating that. And turmeric doesn't kill the virus. Turmeric is great for salmonella. If you are treating your chicken with salmonella, that's why salmonellosis in India is very less, because we use turmeric.
And in fact, that's absolutely correct. In fact, the other thing, what we need to do probably, we also have in the market like ionizer for the vegetables and fruits. We keep the water and then the water gets ionized. And can that be used as well? This is available in the market. How effective is that? Have you seen it or are you aware of that?
No, a lot of things like this are on the market. One is a zapper which claims to zap away
No,
HIV.
this particular machine is available. I mean, I've been using it for 7 years now. This ionizes the water. And then the fruit and vegetables are soaked in the water, and we switch on the machine, and then the outer content of the fruits and vegetables are cleaned.
Is it something like a ultrasonic sonicator?
No, it's a water. We dip in the water, and then the water gets ionized. So the vegetables and fruits, the outer surface is ionized.
Okay, but does it look cleaner?
Look cleaner, obviously, because it's been aerated with ionized air and the water. And I've been happy with that. But the only thing is, if you're using it, please use it in your, externally, not in the kitchen, because it stinks a lot, because the ionizing smell is too much to take in.
See, the thing is, what I would say is, in things like this, which are so deadly, time-tested methods are better. For example, if there is a dangerous waterborne pathogen and I have to drink that water, if I've been asked, would you use UV sterilization as in Eureka Forbes AquaGuard machine, or would you like to boil it for 5 minutes? I will say boiling.
Absolutely.
I will say boiling. So when you use soap, it is already understood it can lyse the outer surface of the virus and it can break the envelope, which is a much safer method than using a physical sonicator or ionizer or things like that, which is not substantiated. Sodium hypochlorite, for example, it will completely destroy. The other day I was seeing a German product called Viroxol. It is the latest thing, but the contact time required was 10 minutes.
Wow.
And some oral and maxillofacial surgeon was asking me if you can use it in his surgery. I said, the contact time is too much. Sodium hypochlorite within 30 seconds to 1 minute will kill everything. So I think time-tested things are prudent, and common sense will dictate that you use such approaches than using experimental things unless it is proven.
Shrikant, you want to ask something?
Yes.
Yes. Basically, a couple of questions. I already put it in the chat box. So I think there was a very interesting paper which I saw yesterday, which comes from the US Defense Institute.
Yes.
And the lady was a virologist who was working on it, and subsequently she got arrested for 9 years and just released last year. And she's anti-Fauci, this guy, who is that Microsoft guy person.
Gates.
And she says that, Gates, Bill Gates, yeah. She says that giving the H1N1 vaccine actually leads to 30% increase in coronavirus. So this was a paper published in 2017-18, because they've been working on the coronavirus for the last 9 years, she says, both in China and US. So, I just want to know whether it's true, because she says that the H1N1 given in Italy was on the dog cell lines, and dogs are canines known to carry coronavirus, and that's how there was a 36% increase in the incidence of coronavirus infection. Is that true? Is it possible?
I think the cell line theory comes from the kidney theory of polio vaccine. Initially, polio vaccine was done on monkey kidney cells or Vero cells, and they believe the HIV virus came into human population from monkey kidney cells. That is not true. No adventitious virus came into human population. As far as the coronavirus, this Defense Institute lady is claiming could be human coronaviruses which are in circulation, not the animal coronaviruses. And the coronaviruses are usually species specific. It is rarely which jumps on other species. For example, a dog coronavirus in retrospect might not affect humans unless there is a clear species jump. For example, dogs can carry rabies, but you cannot make wild birds carry rabies, because both of them or different species. So sometimes those zoonotic diseases are there. These diseases are very species specific. That is one reason. And in the Italian vaccine, the cross protection, what swine flu vaccine or avian influenza vaccine can give is mainly for other lesser coronaviruses, not for hello.
Hey, go on, we can hear you.
Yeah. It is for other circulating common cold coronaviruses. For example, when they gave vaccine against pneumococcus, our routine pneumococcal vaccination, respiratory syncytial virus infections came down. That kind of cross immunity is possible, but I'm not sure if vaccination with influenza vaccine will prevent zoonotic coronaviruses. These are an entire different category. Am I answering to your point?
Yeah. So it's great. Povidone iodine nasal spray. Do you think that's going to help?
Yeah. There are some early studies which show that betadine and povidone iodine nasal spray can reduce the quantum of virus which has entered in the nasopharyngeal area. That is a very promising study. But then again, we don't know if it results in a complete neutralization. Of course, if there is a history of exposure, you can do this both. And definitely it can reduce the viral inoculum before it goes and attaches itself. And before it establishes an infection, the general pathological understanding is the virus stays for a couple of days before it can establish infection. For example, a rabies virus can stay in your leg for nearly 1 month before it travels up your nerve cells. So viruses have a behavioral pattern. So this virus might take some time before it enters the lung and attacks the pneumocytes. So the point is, there is no harm in doing this. And nasal sprays and oral gargling has been done for a long time with betadine, highly efficacious, highly safe, and nothing harmful in doing it. But this might not be 100% protection against the virus. It might not be 100% protection against the virus, but no harm in doing. You can tell patients who are exposed to immediately attempt that. It is any day better than salt water gargling, which has no value. Povidone iodine, since we know it is virucidal, 100% go.
With a lot of Indians coming back in the next week from different parts of the world,
correct.
There is a question mark. What is the best place to quarantine them? Is it hotel or home? Because there's a paper from Wuhan which said that patients who are home quarantine, they led to around 80% spread of the virus in Wuhan. So what are your thoughts about that?
Home quarantine might not be a supervised quarantine because they have the liberty of moving around. That's what you're trying to say. Home has got a greater chance of spread.
Yeah,
yes, 80% more chance of spread. And the hotel quarantine and quarantining them in defense areas in large football grounds is more or less proctored. They are there. They are not allowed to have external contact and things like that. Home quarantine is more of a self-quarantine. No inspector or no public health official can, in fact, come and investigate on that. So that leads to little laxness in this thing. And second thing is, when you home quarantine, there's a high probability others in the home can get infected. They're recommending give them a separate room. In a place like Mumbai, when the living room is your dining room, is your bedroom, how will you give one more place and other things and things like that? So I think that is very important to understand that quarantine in a specific isolated military facility or a common school is definitely better in supposed to be infected people returning from abroad than keeping them at home. Because at some point in time, there'll be quarantine fatigue. And we will also want to come out of it. You're wearing mask every day and suddenly one day you don't feel like wearing it. It's called as prevention fatigue. And I think somebody was asking me where the masks are available. N95 and N100 masks are available with 3M distributors. I will give the contact details to Dr. Amarnath, who will pass it around. And these are sold in bulk. So 10 pieces, 5 pieces and things like that. And make sure it is from the 3M company. There are rival manufacturers also. We don't know about the quality. N100 is a little more padded. And please be cautious while wearing mask. Don't go jogging wearing mask or home cycling, stationary cycling. One of our residents recently fainted 2 days back because she was wearing the N95 and above that she was wearing a full face mask, which I didn't know. So suddenly in the delivery room, she fainted. We brought her out and found out she was wearing a N95. inside a full face mask. We said, no, you need to breathe. So a mask produces two things: claustrophobic atmosphere and mild hypoxia. So don't do cycling. A lot of people are telling me cycling is a good way to transport during such times. When you're cycling and wearing a mask, you will go in for hypoxia. So mask is like being in a hill station. So don't do heavy exercise with the mask on. It can be bad. It can be fatal sometimes.
Gifty, I think, thank you. You've been very patient. You've been very, clear in your thoughts and giving the clarity with absolute basic and simplicity. That is the most important thing, where people can take it forward. So with that, and John, I think you have some things to add and question as well. So as a chairperson, you're going to come now.
Yeah, there are two more questions from Bharat there.
Yeah.
One, N100 filter, is it okay for coronavirus? That's one question what he has. Second, he says COVID is not bloodborne. So in OT, should we be worried about the drill, etc.?
What is the second question, Dr. Evanes?
COVID is not bloodborne. So in OT, should we be worried about a drill, etc.?
Yeah, when you're using a rotary instrument in the OT, it is not percutaneously borne infection. It is not a blood-borne virus. So if your needle sticks and cuts are absolutely fine, but there will be aerosol generation with the use of drill, any drill. There will be aerosol generation. So suppose the drill has a lavage spray or something, or water spray in that, you can use a disinfection infectant mixed water, so that even as a spray, it neutralizes the virus as it comes in contact. For example, in dental surgery, we have this long micromotors and aerotors, which are turbines which rotate at 7 lakh RPM or 6.5, and there is a lot of water lavage in it. So in this water reservoir, you could add saline with the disinfectant so that it neutralizes the virus if at all it becomes aerosolized. That is one thing. Percutaneous injuries from a COVID patient are not very serious for COVID, but it could be serious for hepatitis C and HIV. So still avoiding percutaneous injuries is very important, but the major mode of transmission is respiratory route. Cutaneous is not a major route. Then third mode is through the fecal matter. Aerosolization of fecal matter, which is also partly respiratory route. So it is a respiratory pathogen. The first protection is respiratory pathways, which includes the eyes, nose, and mouth, because all of them are mucous membrane lined, so they can lead to infection. And the second thing is cutaneous protection. Cutaneous protection is second in order of hierarchy. The first is respiratory.
The other question is N100 mask.
Yes.
Is it the best for coronavirus?
Yeah, N95 is more than enough. That is the recommended industry standard. If you are a healthcare worker and you would like to up your protection level, N100 is better. N100 is better. N100 has got much more layering and much more conformity and tightness. So if you are a health worker, I would recommend N90, N100.
Okay, Gifty.
Yes.
Now to conclude the whole thing, as usual, you were very nice, very good, excellent. So much of information was given to us. But now on a philosophical note,
yes,
so much of now negativity going on, listening and trying to know more and more about this COVID. No, we are becoming desperate. We are not understanding now. This virus has suddenly grown into gigantic proportion, and it is going to, we are not seeing any silver lining anywhere. They say that vaccine is not coming up, though the newspapers claim that now Italy has found a vaccine, Israel has found a vaccine, but still they say that vaccine is not successful. Then they said that drugs have come up, remdesivir and another drug had come up. Now they say that is also not successful. And how much we can take these safety measures? It is an airborne infection. It is a fomite-borne infection. How and where all you are going to take the precautions? Somewhere or the other, you are bound to down your guard, and the virus will still attack you. So it's so humanly impossible. And for surgeons, wearing all that PPE and operating is so uncomfortable. I don't know now. Is it? I don't know what is the silver lining now, and will we ever be in a position to counteract this virus? And what is going to be the future of our life?
Way forward.
Way forward.
Yeah.
And is it better that to hell with all this, get a COVID infection, and then if you survive, great. If you don't survive, you're gone. And if you survive, you have antibodies, then you can be carefree.
That is the route which UK took, and they said, let's get everyone infected and herd immunity will grow and we'll be protected. But because of that particular approach, it became a very serious issue. Now they are reversing the policy. Even today, one WHO official has said, let's get everyone infected. But the point is, this virus is capable of triggering a MI in people who have recovered. Not people who are suffering, people who have recovered. So this is a dangerous virus. Sometimes is a transiting virus which doesn't do any harm. So on the philosophical note, your dexterity is affected, your field of vision is narrow, your movements. When you are in the BSL-4 lab, an hour's job of transferring an Ebola virus from a container to other things takes 3 hours. Because we are moving like robots, we are very slow. I have to disconnect my oxygen to go to the next bench and reconnect. And when we come out and take shower, there is no oxygen there. So we blow our suits fully because for the 5 minutes, you shouldn't become breathless. And there are submarine doors. You become breathless, you cannot open the door. You will suffocate and asphyxiate and die. So this kind of user fatigue will develop. That will cause irritability because you are not able to do things. You are not able to do as you have been doing before. Surgery is a very intuitive and artistic field. And with all these things, it definitely becomes cumbersome. So prevention fatigue will set in at some time. You will want to say, hell with it, let us get infected. Aana hai to aayega, that kind of attitude. Go and get infected. And probably after that, if you can become immune to the disease after infection, that can be a recommendable strategy. Unfortunately, if you get infected, the chance of making out are not predictable. They say 80% revive very well, but we might not be in that 80%. Statistics are always tricky. Secondly, even if you survive this test, even if you come out successfully, there is no guarantee you're protected for life. So the only thing is we need to survive till we get a vaccine or a drug. Just hold on there till we get a vaccine or a drug. And after this disease, the whole way we practice medicine and surgery has to be rewritten. It's not going to be the same. Lot of modifications needs to be done. Okay. On the next note, even if we come out of this, by December we have a vaccine, everybody is vaccinated. Next year onward, it becomes a very mild, unknown historical disease. There could be another pathogen coming in. Because the Wuhan markets are still not closed. They have opened it up again. Wet markets are opened up again. Hunting game meat happens in Africa. Global trade, deforestation, all those things are still going on. Unless we change this human behavior, I think these viruses will keep jumping. And we have to keep viral listening posts in Africa, in forests, just to see if viruses are crossing over, if any animal epidemic, which is called the epizootic, is there and things like that. So these are all very hard things to do. We have to invest more on global health and prevent us. This is just a warning, I would say. This is just a warning. Eventually, we'll come out of this another 1 year maximum or 2 years, but luck may have it that we will come out of this earlier than that. But till then, we need to stay cautious, stay very cautious. And it's also possible many of us could be infected, asymptomatic and cleared. And only if you do a test for the antibody levels, the IgG might be elevated. So things like that. It is a question very hard to answer because it's on everyone's mind and there is no black and white answer to it.
If you look at the pattern of the disease, Dr. Gifty, though it can infect anyone, but still it has got a pattern. It is not very harsh on the pediatric group, or even young adult group. It is harsh on the geriatric group. So if we can safeguard this geriatric population, and not be so much worried about the other two population, still I think we can overcome this the problem which we are facing now. We have to just take care of this vulnerable group, keep them at home care or whatever you say, and the disease is not universal, though it can affect anyone, but 80%, 90% affects the geriatric group. So let us take care of this group and leave the other two groups. So that we may not be in a position to quarantine so much, social distancing, lockdown, all this can be eliminated. Only the geriatric people can be asked not to move around.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's
Very
a good
correct.
strategy. But what really happens, could happen in that scenario, Dr. John, is that when you only take care of the geriatric population, because they are the most vulnerable, agreed, they also have a lot of comorbidities, which makes them vulnerable. They have senescence of the immune system or the aging of the immune system. So all these things makes them a hot target for this virus. Let us say we let others free. That is the place where the trouble starts. When more number of people get infected, you cannot protect this geriatric population. You can only protect them when less number of people are infected. If more people get infected, the geriatric population will get infected. They'll surely pass on the infection. So the idea is, if you want to protect the geriatric population, we have to keep the general population's infection rates below normal or acceptable range. But
according to it is the vaccine which is the key now.
Yes, vaccine.
So Italy says it has come out with a vaccine. Is it true?
A lot of countries have said they have a vaccine. Oxford is claiming, NIH is claiming, China is claiming. So these claims are welcome, but we need to wait and observe and see how the progress happens, because Italy has been under tremendous pressure for not being able to do anything. So many are dying every day. So they have a counter strategy. They immediately come up and say, we have a vaccine, we're working on it. So public memory is short. They don't think of it for a long time. And everybody says we are still in development, we are in a R&D section and things like that. For example, there was a counter, what we call a spin doctoring by a Korean doctor who said, the virus doesn't come back, it is only the remnants of RNA remains, that's why the test is positive. Because Korea was showing a lot of people who became positive after becoming negative. So this is a kind of biological spin doctoring just to make sure they're still okay. And Korea is still maintaining low levels. Now it seems to be an arms race between countries, who is getting infected more, who is keeping it down. There is no marks for first rank or second rank or third rank. We are all in the same boat. Only the time frame and the infection rates are different. What affects, it's like a bungalow with multiple rooms. Just because one room is clean doesn't mean the entire thing will be clean. It takes only one person to infect the other room. Let us say we have a magic wand and clear all the infections in India. It takes one person to come in with the infection, it's gone. It's gone. It'll start from the beginning. So I think as we discussed, the only thing is getting a vaccine developed at the earliest possible. But then again, everybody is portraying a bleak future. We don't have for HIV, for hepatitis C, for SARS-1, SARS-2, MERS. So how are we going to get this for this viral infection? So that is a dilemma. But I still believe in humanity, and I think we will come out of it successfully. But what really intrigues me in this is not behaving like a natural pathogen. A natural pathogen has a pattern. Ebola, it came, then it died on its own. It comes, it goes on its own. This is unstoppable. It is going around. Mathematical modeling answers are saying 70% of the world will eventually get infected, no matter how safe. So if that is the case, how do we really do anything about it? So we need at least a drug, like a prophylactic drug, which can be tried. For example, there is a drug which has not been looked into very much. It's called camostat mesylate, which has been given for acidity and things like that. This drug blocks the entry of the virus. Such a drug with a safety margin can be tried as a prophylactic. I've written it in one of my protocols and things like that. It's a well-known drug manufactured by a Japanese pharma company. So things like that, which can be prophylactically at least given. Take once a day, this tablet, you will not get infected. Fine. You don't even need a vaccine. We can wait for the vaccine. So even a drug which is not curing, but at least preventing, it's enough. They're trying.
Remdesivir could be the answer?
Remdesivir is an intravenous formulation. Probably if they come as an oral tablet, everyone can take. Oral tablet. So I would recommend sofosbuvir, which is an analog of remdesivir. If somebody is infected, sofosbuvir and tenofovir could be tried. These are analogs of remdesivir. These are oral tablets, easy. We have tried sofosbuvir in dengue fever, reasonably good results. So sofosbuvir can be tried. Only repurposing of drugs is possible. No new drug will come in the market for corona. And secondly, vaccines, they are using old templates. What they use for Ebola, what they tried for Marburg are being used. And old vaccines like polio and hoping against hope, polio and other things, they're trying and seeing if these things can really work. And stalwarts in the field of virology are recommending polio vaccines, which they straight away know don't work. They know there is something called plausibility study. Before you recommend, this will not work. But still they recommend because they want to say something, like something.
Sir, is this the reason that this is a chimeric version or this is a chimera? So the vaccine is not happening or the research is not getting successful?
Sir, we have portrayed medicine and science as a very progressive and, like very advanced field. But since the beginning of time, common sense, soap, water, and ORS have been the greatest discoveries in medicine. We haven't had anything bigger than that. A lot of promise. I had prototypes and protocols which said, if we have an outbreak, we'll have a genomic sequencing overnight, we'll do a bioinformatics, we'll get a template, vaccine will be produced, mass scale produced, shipped, and nothing is working. And all those guys, like who suggested proteomics, genomics, gene therapy, this, that, they're all silent now. They're not even opening them up.
That is why, sir, I request that this is chimera version is the problem, or because had it been a virus on only a native virus, then vaccine development should have happened. You just require a virus to develop a vaccine.
True, but even when you say a native virus, like HIV was a single virus, it was not much of a recombination. We still don't have a viral vaccine. Recombination makes it little difficult to develop a vaccine, I agree. But just being a natural virus without any recombination also is equally the same if the virus is virulent. So it's only the question of the mutation rates, the RNA, the virus activity, and things like that. So I sincerely think something has to come out of this. Only 3 countries are capable of doing. One is United States, next is Israel, and the third is India. I solidly think these 3 countries can come out with an answer. These 3 countries, they have a lot of innovative thinking. Italy never talked about a vaccine. Suddenly one day they say they have a vaccine.
Yesterday there was a news about Italy.
Yesterday there was a news. They said there is a vaccine.
They have already developed.
Is it a desperate measure, I guess?
Exactly.
These are all desperate steps.
Yes. Now, how long it will take for this human trial? It started on April 23rd in India.
Yes.
So how long will this human trial take?
They are doing something called double-blind placebo-controlled study where the people who are getting the vaccine, people who are getting plain water do not know. And at the end of the trial, it's all opened and seen. And then they have GMP and a lot of certifications to come.
Minimum 9 months.
By 2024, by conservative estimates, we might have something. If it comes before that, I will think it's a miracle.
2024.
Yes.
4 years, John.
By that time, I think what will happen, whether we will be alive.
Yes, we have to stay alive.
No, that is a very depressing news. We thought it is going to happen soon. September, October, we are going to get the vaccine.
Yeah, that is the claim. That is the claim. If you type into 2010, a lot of companies had said they had the HIV vaccine.
Yes.
In fact, Gifty, John, I think, fast tracking any medicine or any vaccine is not the right choice. You should not be fast tracking anything because we need to get the studies properly in the timing. There is one interesting book. I don't know if you guys have heard about it. Death by Prescription. Written by a doctor. Written by a doctor, and he talks about the FDA, how FDA fast-tracked the celecoxids, the COX-2 inhibitors, and how it went off, and how the pharma industry, the industry-driven kind of challenge. Kaushik, you know that,
Yeah, I know.
So I think fast-tracking is not the answer for the vaccine.
Fast-tracking is permitted in a pandemic situation. In a pandemic situation, yes.
Now we are in pandemic. Now we are in pandemic. Are we okay to have fast tracking on corona?
Yeah. Fast tracking in corona is absolutely permitted. But you want fast track for human papilloma virus. But for corona, yes.
No, but we, as rightly said, we need to see the cadres strain what we have. A, B, C, D, E, L, S, and all that.
Correct.
So there are so many strains available and so many mutations
I'm
happening.
Yeah, I'm looking only at a 60% efficacious vaccine, not more than that.
Okay.
60% is enough to change the tide. Then by the second and third generation, which will come in next year and year after, we can bolster this. We can prime and boost this. All those games we can do. But now, at least 60%. The enemy has hit us so many times, we are not even hitting back once. We're only saying he shot me, but I survived.
Come on,
No,
Gifty.
no, no.
See,
Dr.
our
Gifty, would you say that
human generation, human
later this year in India?
Sorry?
Sorry.
Human generation has existed for millions of years. These pathogens are also there for millions of years. And we had one of the worst pandemic in 1918, when more than 100 million people died as per your own statement. But still the human race has survived.
Correct.
Right? So let us be optimistic that this virus will not eliminate us. We will eliminate the virus one day.
That's what I'm also saying.
Will become history.
Yeah. I think we will eliminate it. We will eliminate
Yes.
it.
Yes.
The virus is smarter than us in all counts. Instead, it can replicate faster. It can survive harshness. It can do everything. But the only place where we beat the virus is our higher center. This
Yes.
is the great
The brain, yeah.
we have.
Yes. So we will ultimately learn. Maybe we are taken aback now.
Correct,
But
correct.
one day
We
I
are emotionally defeated, not really defeated.
Yes,
The
yes.
only thing is, if a tool comes early, if an arsenal, if an armamentarium comes early, we will reduce the number of mortality. That is the only thing.
And Kaushik is sitting there. He's going to get us some vaccine, drug.
There could be a second wave.
And he's going to save the human race. So let us not lose hope.
Correct, sir.
Now it is so
Absolutely.
depressing to listen to all this. My God, really, this virus has,
No, but one silver lining, sir. Gifty sir always says 70% of the world population is going to get infected, but death rate is only 1.5 to 2%. So,
So like if all those people die, how many people will ultimately die in the entire world? If 2% of the world population dies, so how many? But we still have 98% will survive.
2% in a point in time, sir. So that this 2% will continue.
Yeah.
Okay, it goes on becoming 2%.
Yeah. So let us say 100 people, 98 survive. In that 98, 2% again.
Oh my God. So that is pretty scary,
That is mentally very exhausting.
There
But
are a few more questions there.
yeah.
One Dr. VSN Raju is asking, would native methods suppress the severity of symptoms?
Native methods means alternative medicines?
Yes.
Yeah. There is one drug, sir, which is, I think, given in many government hospitals. I am really in favor of it. It is called as Andrographis paniculata. In Hindi, it is called as Calmake. This particular drug contains an ingredient, an alkaloid called as graphicide. And that is known to completely inhibit the virus in laboratory level. So if they can determine the posology, the dosage, the milligrams, the duration and timing, then this might be an efficacious drug to be given along with the respiratory support and other care in patients with COVID, because China has tried a lot of traditional medicines in COVID. So Andrographis paniculata is quite safe, and it's quite, it doesn't have much of side effects. Definitely, it is something to look forward to.
Where do we get this drug? Is it an Ayurvedic drug or a homeopathic
It's a plant. It's just a plant. Himalayan herbs has it as Calmake.
So where do we get this drug?
It comes as a Calmake capsules, Andrographis paniculata.
John, this is available in Himalaya drug house counters.
Yes.
Calmake.
Calmake. Yes.
Calmake.
MEGH.
Kalmegh. It's in Sanskrit. Calmake.
So this
Andrographis paniculata.
This drug is already there.
Yes.
Huh?
It's a plant. It's a plant.
Calmake. Right.
So-
I think that's a good one. Why not we try that?
No, John, we don't have the in vitro study. That's what the Gift is telling.
Yes.
We don't have the in vitro study. In the laboratory, it is vivo, it's doing it, but not in vitro.
Like ivermectin.
It is doing it in vitro, not in vivo. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. No. Sorry. The other way.
But whatever, say something is better than nothing.
Yes.
Take something. You want
No,
some
even if you take it and you don't have anything, it's absolutely fine. It's just
No, it may
And
work
we-
as a placebo. It may work as a placebo also. Who knows?
Yes,
This become more stronger. Think we have cornered the virus.
mind over matters.
Then two more questions there. Shrikant
Yes.
has asked. In orthopedics, we have confusion between positive pressure and negative pressure. In the
Correct.
OT, what's your take on this? Because one body says no positive pressure, one body says positive pressure is the best. So, what is your ultimate, suggestion?
When we work in the BSL-4 lab, the entire lab is in negative pressure. Simple. Atmospheric pressure is 1. It's called as 1 ATM. When the lab is functioning, the entire lab is in negative pressure. And your suit with the air supply is in positive pressure. So any organism which is out there cannot enter your suit. Your suit is in positive pressure. It is in 2 atmospheres. And the lab is in negative pressure. So if I'm working on a vial of Ebola virus, it cannot aerosolize and enter my suit pressure, and the room is in vacuum, not total vacuum, negative. Gauge there, which will tell you if the lab is in negative pressure. Only when the lab is in negative pressure, you enter. So in an orthopedic setup, it's very similar. When you do suction, it is negative pressure. When you do suction, it is negative pressure. So suction can cause negative pressure trauma in the mouth and other areas. And positive pressure is when air emanates from you, it is positive pressure. So if you have a suit with the oxygen supply, that is positive pressure. And if you are in a room which is normal, it is normal atmospheric pressure. And for negative pressure, you have to have a large vacuum pump, which has to be incorporated into the room's design, and that will remove it. For example, if you have an ideal room to treat COVID cases, it should have 3 things. Number 1, there should be negative pressure in the room. Number 2, every air which is exiting out of the room has to go through 2 HEPA filters and a virus burnout unit. And all the waste effluents, brushing fluids, and your toilet and urine has to be superheated to 100 degrees and then sent to your sewage system. That is an ideal isolation room. In India, I don't think we have this. We have a separate room and we call it isolation room. So if all these things are done, then it can be called as an isolation room. The aerobiology has to be right. So in orthopedics, if you want an isolation OT, you have to have negative pressure generated by a vacuum system. All your output air has to be sent through a HEPA filter, 2 HEPA filters, 1 feet apart, changed every year. And all the effluents, like all the biohazardous material from your surgery, has to be burnt and sent out.
So now, should we use this positive pressure or not?
Your positive pressure is good.
Good. So laminar airflow with vertical laminar is good.
Oh yes, oh yes. So
that's
suppose you have a laminar hood. Anything you operate under that acts as a air current, and it will air curtain, and it prevents it from coming into your respiratory system.
So Shrikant, are you happy with that answer?
Yes, sir. Because the vertical laminar flow pushes the air around 3 meters per second. So it means even if there is aerosol in front of the surgeon, it's going to push it down onto the floor.
Exactly.
So it's very unlikely to come back from the floor again after the day.
Exactly.
The problem with that is it is going to go out of the OP. So somebody standing in front of the main door, like Mez was saying, he will get infected. But at least as an operating surgeon and the team,
that laminar flow has a receiving unit at the bottom. It sucks the air out, sends it through a HEPA filter, and then into the room air or into the exhaust. You have 2 models. You have to go in for level 3. You have to go in for level 3 biosafety.
See, that's exactly, in fact, I was telling about this particular operating theater. They just say HEPA filter and laminar flow. This is the biggest issue in the India. For the cost cutting, level 3 is more expensive. That's the reason a lot of the manufacturers are not giving you level 3.
So the issue is, Dr. Gifty, Indian Orthopedic Association had come out with a guideline saying that we should not use the laminar flow. Now they have reversed it because of the pressure from people. Now they have reversed it, but earlier they came out with the idea that we should not use the laminar airflow. But now you have made it very clear. So please
Yes.
add it into our guideline.
Yes,
So
yes,
that when we
definitely.
put our
Yes.
QoS guideline,
Laminar
let
flow
me
is an invisible air curtain which is saving lives, because there is a downward draft of air, and you know it's working by placing a small newspaper on top of the equipment. You'll know it is flappering, and as it comes down, there is a receptacle at the bottom, just like a water exit unit. There it is received, sent to HEPA filter, and sent externally or recirculated into the room. Two options are available. So level 3 is 100% is in favor of you, because you can put your hands into it. It's not a glass ceiling, it's a laminar flow, and you can work on a patient. At the same time, the aerosols will not come through. And the moment the work is complete and everything is over, then you switch off the laminar airflow, not before that.
Gifty,
One more question is there, Srikanth is telling Australia has taken the right decision and all should support.
That
So I
is
don't know what
regarding closing wet market. So the Australian Prime Minister has raised a big issue about why, like Gifty said, why they have not closed the wet market. We know that that's the origin or possible origin. So why still the business has to run? And I saw a lot of left-wing people supporting, saying that, oh, if you don't stop it, poor people will be affected in China. I mean, so the whole world is affected now.
Yeah. These are deeply ingrained social practices. And in China, unless the WHO makes a statement, they will not buy it. And secondly, WHO will not make that statement, because the current WHO president is a former minister of a communist regime in Ethiopia. China, for $18 million, is building an African communicable disease center at Ethiopia. And it's given currently WHO $30 million, while America has withdrawn support. So because of this geopolitics and two communist countries, it's unlikely that WHO will make a statement saying you have to stop all the wet markets. China should know on its own. It needs no external source to tell them. It's a very simple thing. Close your wet markets. Give a, same thing, you process it through cold chain. If you want to eat only pangolin, fine. Have an industry which will process pangolin and send to you as a frozen state, fine. There is no direct exposure. The point source exposure happens when you're butchering the animal. The vendors get infected. Same thing happens in Africa. They hunt wild animals because they don't have a protein source. They are eating something called tapioca. I lived my early years in Tanzania. I know the situation there. They are taking a carbohydrate food called tapioca, which doesn't have any protein, and that's why kwashiorkor is very common in Africa. So their protein source is a wild monkey. For, as you rightly said, that's a source of food for him. But then again, you give him an alternate occupation and discourage him from going there. You discourage him from going there by giving him an alternative occupation. Allow him to farm chicken. He will not go in search of a monkey or a wild animal. So these kind of hunter-gatherers. And another interesting thing, there is a bat hunting community in India and Manipur. On a lunar day, they go and hunt caves with bat. NCBS Bangalore did a controversial study on them, which was a little rubbed off for lack of ethics. Without permission, I believe they took blood samples, and they found out they have Ebola-like antibodies in this bat hunters who never developed Ebola-like disease, and we don't have Ebola in India. So bat hunting is practiced by certain tribe in India and Manipur, and it's a little controversial thing. I mean, you can't go and tell them this viruses will come. They won't even know what a virus is. So these kind of cultural practices are ingrained in so many people. I mean, I know history of people who have been eating fruit bats in India, hunting them, white rats, fruit bats, and all this sexual aphrodisiac creams and potions which were used in India, many of them had origin in animals. So I personally think as Asians, we had this exotic practices believing that will increase masculinity and longevity, which is a misunderstanding. And that has deeply engraved. So even after this pandemic, people are not bothered. So who has to do this? Only China can do this. And WHO, European Union, America, they will not care for anyone. They will continue. In fact, except the Hunan market, every other wet market in China is open. And Hunan market is just one division. The next market is open. It's like Shivaji Nagar in Bangalore. You stop one thing, the other thing will open, something like that. So unless they understand, they have put the world at jeopardy. They've destroyed and damaged so many lives. they have to take, it's a moral implication. It is not a legal implication.
So I think Gifty, this time also you have broken the record. It is already 7:15 now. Last time there were 2 speakers. This time you are only 1 speaker, but still the impact has been the same, 4:30 to 7:15. Now, if we leave like this, we'll go till 8:15, 8:30 now. So there is no end to the discussion that is happening. So Gifty 1 and Gifty 2, I think Gifty 2 is now more powerful. We have more Gifties like COVID 1, COVID 2 like that.